Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the brand new Pokemon TCG Pocket Set. Don't worry, Pocket haters. We're only going to talk about it for a couple of minutes. Then we're going to move right in to some IRL Pokemon TCG action, talking about the results from this past weekend's Toronto Regional Championships. We will, of course, have Guess That Flavor Text, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast, of course. And then we're going to wrap up this week by talking about the Champions League Osaka tournament that is coming up this weekend. The very first Champions League with the dreaded Budew legal for tournament play. And then, of course, we're going to have our bonus episode exclusive to our YouTube channel members and also our Spotify subscribers. So be sure to tune in to that bonus episode. And if you want to show us a little extra support, the best way to do it is to be a channel member or a Spotify subscriber. And then you also get that extra content as well. My name is Chip Ritchie, and I'm joined here, as always, by my friend and co-host, Azul GG. What's up, Azul? How we doing, buddy? How was your journey back home?
Pretty good. I've actually been sick the last couple days. Yeah, I got back Friday, did the restreams of Toronto on a Saturday and Sunday. It was good to get that restream watch party content in there. And then I plan to stream on Monday, and I felt terrible Monday morning. And I also felt really bad this morning. But right now I feel like I don't know. Sicknesses are different, I guess. But like in the morning it's been really bad. But then as the day has gone on, it's just like I get better and better and better. But then there was like a reset this morning. I was like, "Oh, I can probably stream this morning." Then I woke up and I went back to bed immediately when I woke up. I was like,
You
"No."
seem fine right now.
Yeah, that's how I felt yesterday evening as well. Um, so now I'm hoping that going into tomorrow morning, I'll be feeling good enough to stream, and won't be waking up at like 2 p.m. or something like that. So, that's the plan. To get back to the content grind. Got to watch Toronto, which was fun, and thankfully the sickness hit me after that. I guess if it was gonna hit me, better to hit after the Toronto watch partying is all over with. But you were actually at Toronto, Chip.
That's
You were
right.
I was gonna say casting. You were lounging. You were in the lounge. The hosting.
The interviewing.
How was it cold in Toronto?
It was pretty cold. It wasn't so bad, and it was actually kinda nice because they put us in the hotel that is connected to the convention center, so I don't even think I went outside at all on Saturday or Sunday, except to, like, walk to the little convenience store Sunday night that was right next to the hotel, so, yeah, not too bad, and I use the term "connected to the convention center" very loosely. I would have to imagine if you counted it out with the steps or the pedometer or something like that. It was like a mile and a half walk from the because of how big the convention center was and where the hall was that the tournament was in. Like you walk through the hotel and you're immediately in the convention center almost, which is nice. But we're just at a hall that was very far away from the Intercontinental. But it was still nice to not have to go outside to get to work on Saturday and Sunday.
Was
But
that
yeah,
a
it was
different
good.
was that a different location than last year?
It was a different, yeah, it was a different convention center than it has been in years past.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because I don't think I've been
But you went to Toronto last year, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was the hotel that oh, yeah, yeah, because I played at Toronto last year. Yeah, it was the hotel it was the same hotel we stayed in last year is where we stayed this time, the Intercontinental. And remember, it
Mm.
wasn't like we, like, Ubered to the venue in
Yeah,
the
we had to Uber,
mornings.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But it was a convention center that was connected to that hotel.
Oh, okay.
So that was
Cool.
nice. And yeah, I was not casting. I was doing the interviews and the segments and stuff like that. And that was fine. It was good. I definitely do slightly prefer casting, I would say, but I do enjoy getting to do the like extra segments and stuff like that. Getting to talk to the players. I always have a lot of ideas of things I want to do, but it does tend to there's just a lot of moving pieces to make things actually happen up on the screen. So sometimes things don't always come to fruition, but we did get to do some pretty cool things. Like I did we did a little segment about the winners in the juniors and seniors division. I tweeted out the little segment that we did. I don't know if have you seen this yet? We
Yeah, I
did
did
a
see
little
it, yeah.
interview beforehand. Then talked about some background for both the players. We got to actually show a little bit of a clip of the gameplay as well, which was cool, like the actual winning moment. Um, it was a really cool play as well that Annabelle here used to win the game. A Lugia that she had hit earlier in the game. She was able to use double Monkey Dory to KO it, plus KO the Squawkabilly for a four prize turn as Gardevoir was actually really, really cool. Um, and yeah, we got to do this. We tried to do the same thing for the seniors, but we ran into a conflict with the timing where the guys who were running the camera and audio setup for this like remote camera had to be at the go stage for the Go Awards ceremony, the closing ceremony. So we didn't get to film the final moment of the seniors finals, but we still did an interview with Justin, the winners, and got to do that, which is something they've kind of normally been doing now the last few tournaments, I feel like. So yeah, it was definitely cool, a lot of fun. Shout outs to Daniel Neary from Pokemon because he kind of like he told me Sunday morning, I've got a big project for you. We want to do this. I was like, all right, let's do it. And we ran with it and it was good.
Yeah, that's cool to see. Actually, I've been one of the one of the proponents against the idea of like streaming juniors and seniors matches whenever that kind of discussion comes up. But one thing I would say for regional level events, it would be nice to maybe get the finals of at least seniors, if not also juniors. It's impossible to kind of fit into the schedule because like I'd rather watch top 8 for masters
Yeah.
than finals
It,
of juniors and seniors. And I feel like the majority of people probably feel that way. Not everyone. Whenever I
yeah.
say anything like that, people are like, no, actually, Azul, there's plenty of people. I was like, yeah, I know. There's someone everyone wants to see something. What but like I think the majority of people want to see the
Yeah.
development of the story of the masters top cut if there was just some way to somehow be able to show the juniors and seniors. Like if we missed like missing the first 2 rounds of Swiss of day 2 is something that we've talked about a lot, how that kind of feels bad for Masters. If we could somehow have the juniors and seniors finals into rounds 3 and 4 of Swiss into Masters, that would be sick. But there's like no way for that to actually line up because they
Yeah.
have their own top cuts and day twos for. Well, actually, has there been a day 2 for seniors yet this
Yeah. They've
year?
had day two. Juniors and seniors have had day twos. They
Okay.
both had day two at Toronto.
Oh, okay, okay. So it's a pretty big one
I
then
think
for all
they've
the
I think
different.
they've had day two. I think this new system sets them up for a day two. I'm pretty sure, regardless.
Oh yeah, because it's so yeah. You need so many less people to have a day 2 now, right? I think
Yes.
I've read on
So
that.
I'm pretty sure they just do less rounds day one.
Yeah. Actually, this is something that we didn't put on our
Yeah, here it's right
agenda
here.
to talk about, but I think it's actually something we maybe could talk about. I don't know if you saw like some people
Oh, that's a catchphrase.
putting out some takes on Twitter about the juniors and the seniors division. One of them I think came from Mello, and Mello's take was uh, that the juniors and seniors divisions should be basically open for registration before the Masters division, and then once all the juniors and seniors have registered, then they allow the Masters players to register, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. And then I saw another take from someone else that was like, it feels like the growth of the game isn't matching the cap size for tournaments is not tracking with the growth of the game for juniors and seniors. Like the juniors and seniors divisions are being capped at a lower rate than the masters are. Or the caps aren't like going like 1-to-1 with growth. And there's more juniors and seniors missing out than there are masters division players missing out. I think it's basically what the take was, which more room for everyone would be great. But I don't think I necessarily agree with Mello's take. I don't know if there's something you've thought about, but the growth of the game is very important. And I think one thing I will say about this, the majority of the growth of the game does come from the Masters division, though. Although I do think we need to make sure the juniors and seniors divisions, as long as they're going to stick around, are growing in a healthy manner and giving room to grow and for the kids to play. But the majority of new players are coming through the Masters division year over year.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting conversation. I feel like I don't remember who I heard talking about this at some point, but they talked about how when they were a kid, it was someone who had been playing, who's like a master now, who'd been playing since they were a kid. And they talked about how when they were a kid, that Pokemon TCG was a very cheap, affordable hobby that they would go to their local league and then ride with a friend to the nearby two or one or two regionals throughout the year. The tournaments were free to enter, at some point $20 to
Yep.
enter. It was a very like reasonable hobby for like regular working class American family to have. But now it almost feels like for juniors and seniors, like people are kind of priced out of competing in the game. Obviously, people can still compete at the tournaments near them regardless of those things, but it is still what is it? It's cheaper for juniors and seniors, right? I think it's like $45, is that right? I think it is cheaper
Yeah.
than masters, but which is I mean, I think that's probably I mean, less would be better, I guess, right? Um
I mean, I think, and I
but,
know
like,
not
so
everyone.
many there's just the huge cost of and one of like, Remy here replies to this talking about, the consideration of parents traveling to events too, right? Like, it's much more, like, any master who is, 18 up, whatever, can get to these tournaments cheap flight, carpool for a long time with a group of people, bum it on a hotel floor as well for a weekend. Like you and I both did plenty of that whenever we were competing early on, right? Splitting a room with a bunch of people, you can make it a very cheap weekend, but it's a lot more difficult for kids to do that because then you have the cost of the parents, and then it's like, okay, we're gonna share hotel rooms with other families. Like, what are we gonna do here, right? It's a much more expensive hobby than maybe it once was.
Yeah, definitely to some extent. But I mean, I guess like one part with that is like that's it. That feels like that's only true if you're competing for a world's invite. And I think just like the masters division, a lot of juniors and seniors have kind of been like price pointed out. Was the term I'm looking for? It has
Priced
be
out.
they've been priced out of being able to compete for their world's invite, which I don't think is like which I like theoretically kind of sucks, but like I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think like competing for just wanting to compete for what you can go to should be a fine way to view the game.
Sure.
And I think we talked about this as well. It feels like the idea of the world's invite maybe partly Pokemon's fault for making it the only thing to play for, but players only playing for that created kind of a toxic environment in the Pokemon TCG community, and that does kind of lean down to the younger divisions as well. I mean, I would be fine if they charge Masters division like I don't know $5 more and then made juniors and seniors free to enter. Like I don't know how much that would actually even increase the demand for juniors and seniors showing up to these tournaments. They can't increase it by that much, right?
Yeah.
Because
I mean, I think
if you're playing enough,
they are still, like, capping out, I'm pretty sure, right?
yeah, like if like if the parents and stuff plan enough ahead of time. I mean, it depends how many kids they have, but like for the local players, going to like a big tournament like this, to pay like $45 probably isn't a big deal for most parents in these situations. So, but if it became free, I mean, I wouldn't mind it becoming free if like the masters had to pay like $5 more. I don't, not everyone probably feels that way, but I'd be fine with that personally. I don't think it would increase like a huge demand increase would happen in the juniors and seniors division all of a sudden if it became free to enter. Like
Mhm.
it would only maybe increase the demand for like local players. But if you're if you're paying for a hotel room and a flight for you and your kids or kid, I doubt like the $45 can make that big of a difference between you going to that tournament or not if you are like flying, right? So
Right.
yeah, I don't know. It's definitely interesting.
Part of it is
Um
as well just the fact that there's less tournaments this year, right? We've talked about this a
yeah.
little bit. 9 regional championships. There used to be 15 regional championships, right? And I think I talked about this on did I talk about this on the podcast? Like, I have a friend who's a local who went to a bunch of regional championships because he could drive to them, and now there's, like, 2 drivable regionals from North Carolina, which
Yeah.
is, like, the center of the East Coast, right?
Honestly, I'm surprised that we haven't seen I didn't really factor that in at all into my thought process, but I'm surprised I didn't actually see the demand for majors go up in terms of selling out faster just because there's so many less to go to, but maybe that does kind of just speak to the
I
factor
mean, I
of how
think they
many people
have
will
sold out
actually.
fast.
Well, no, but, like, Louisville didn't sell out
Yeah,
that
it did.
fast,
Louisville
or
sold
was
out
it
almost
Baltimore?
instantly.
Maybe it was Baltimore then. Baltimore was open for a while.
Okay.
I don't think Sacramento sold out that fast either.
Yeah, the West Coast
Um,
is just a little is always gonna be a little bit
Toronto, I'm also not sure. They did I don't even know if they sold out I don't even know if they
they
did
had a
sell
lot
out.
of space in Toronto,
Yeah, so, like, that's what I'm saying, like,
but
I'm actually,
it
like.
was bigger than last year's Toronto by, like, over 1,000 players or something like
That's
that.
true. San Antonio did sell out, and I did see a new tweet from
I
the
saw that too.
for anyone who's looking to maybe still get into San Antonio, there was a tweet from Gaming Gen saying they're talking to the convention center people, I think, and they're looking to trying to find some space for to open up some more seats. So
Hopefully, there'll be
um,
an update this week, Thursday, December 19th is what they say.
yeah. So yeah, I guess that like one thing that I'm curious, I just don't know how big of a problem any of these things are for the juniors and seniors division, like in comparison to the masters. Is it just growing pains for everyone, or is there actually some like bigger problem in the juniors and seniors division that um I don't know, I guess, like, we haven't really talked about before or something that I've never even really thought about before? I guess that's a kind of a question I kind of had, because we were talking about the juniors and seniors division to begin with.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, as far as like the going back to what I was saying about the stream stuff, it'd be cool to somehow get the juniors and seniors finals on
Yeah.
stream somehow. But I don't think it's possible
The
logistically.
only way it would work is if we cut Masters top cut matches.
Yeah, and I think that's probably
Because
not worth
juniors
the
and seniors
trade off.
finals was happening during Masters top cut this tournament.
Yeah, although if we do eventually ever get a secondary stream, that would be perfect to put on the secondary stream.
Yeah.
Like a secondary. That's what I was talking about this when we were streaming Toronto. I was like, I feels like it would be a great. I mean, a second table setup that they're just recording at the same time that they could cut over to, or like a full on secondary stream would honestly be pretty sick. And then I was even like, I don't know, talking about it on the streams, like it would give them opportunity to bring on more casters in terms of like you could bring on like a I don't know like a B team. You know, people are trying to make the come up in the casting space, but I don't know. There's like a lot that they could do with it, but obviously pretty expensive to like add that
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah. A second stream, you're talking about adding a whole second production line,
Yeah,
right? I
I
mean,
mean,
that's,
I don't think you'd want it. You'd want to have like roaming cameras. You wouldn't have like the full stream
yeah.
overlay thing. It would have to just be like top down, like the old school overlay. Maybe some one person back there checking off the prize cards as they get drawn or something.
Yeah.
Even something just like that. Even if there was no commentators and it was just like they were viewing it, there was like a B stream where they put another match on there. That's where you could put the seniors finals, juniors finals, whatever. And then the main stream could cut over to that if the main match ends sooner than the
Yeah.
secondary match or whatever. But I was just thinking about it because there wasn't as much downtime this weekend. I didn't feel like though, but a lot of games went to time. A lot of
There
games
was a
went to
lot of
time.
games that did go to time. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
it's been
always
cool this
tried
month.
whenever there was enough time, I tried to fill in with, like, an interview or something like that where I could. I did a pretty cool interview with Pram on day 1, which was fun. We
Yeah.
chatted about him transitioning over to judging. He's a great person to interview. I wish I have interviewed him more over the years, to be honest, on the stream because he will chat for a while. Talked to Ji Shen going into his round against Lucas Zhang, which was pretty cool. We did talk about it backstage for just a minute about just streaming Ji Shen versus Lucas Zhang in the final round, but we had already streamed Lucas during day 1.
Yeah.
But it was like it would have been a pretty cool story, and that would have been a cool instance of having if there was a second stream, right? That would be like the easy choice to have like on the backup, and then it's like, um, something we could maybe get to. Now, the way it ended up, that round 9 was a mess due to several really long judge calls, and so
Yeah.
we probably would have seen nothing from the second game anyway, but in those instances, it would have been cool. I don't know. It's a pretty cool story, like Lucas and Grant, they're like best friends in the game, playing the same 60, working together, and then
Was
both
8-0.
playing at 8-0. Like, it's pretty rare that that happens, right?
Yeah, it definitely was pretty sick. That would have been yeah, it being a Drago mirror was kinda like, eh,
Yeah,
for sure. So I actually am glad you picked the other match. The match I was hoping for was Ian versus Bradner.
that would have been good too, yeah.
Once I learned it wasn't a Drago mirror. At first I thought it was a Drago mirror, so I was like, "Eh, do we really wanna see a Drago mirror?" But once I learned, I was like, "Okay." But the one he put on stream was Golden Go, getting on there was kinda cool. Even it was
It was a spaghetti match,
a little bit of a
man.
cluster. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah, we
Sebastian
didn't
actually had a really cool line that he
it used
missed.
to be more of like a communal process, and we do still talk about it backstage, like of who picks, like of like what matches we're kind of keeping our eye on. But ultimately, there's a subject matter expert backstage that it's like his choice ultimately what goes on stream, and I think he's picked like pretty solid matches to be honest the last few tournaments. And yeah, Bradner versus Ian would have been cool, but we'd seen so much Reggie Drago, hadn't seen the Golden Go. Also, Sebastian Lashmet as well, seeing him up on the stage is cool because he's like a big up and comer in the game right now. It feels like so.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
there was good reasons to go with that one. That's the thing. There's so many good matches every
Yeah.
single round. We get to show one of them.
Yeah, I wasn't a big I mean, that matchup, yeah, I mean, that match is pretty lopsided for Charizard
Sure.
generally, but it did end up it wasn't interesting, I guess, at least because of the judge calls.
Yeah.
It made it
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, but I'm curious, for the community's thoughts on the junior, senior. Do you guys think there are problems that in the lower divisions uh, that aren't just growing pains, that are also things in the Masters division, and what are they? Let us know in the comments.
I'm
I
sure
definitely
there's
be
plenty of
interested
poker
to know
parents listening that would be happy to tune in. We'd love to hear some
some
input
takes.
there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it's definitely for like me personally, it's something I'm pretty disconnected from. I mean, sometimes the discussions come up in my chat when I'm streaming and stuff like that, but it's not something I'm super in tune with. And I've been seeing these takes recently on Twitter, so it definitely makes me stop and think because it's definitely something worth worrying about if it is fairly prevalent and not just kind of like growing pains for kind of the whole community. And there is like issues specific to the lower divisions. Um,
But yeah, we got a couple things we can talk about before we get into our first like main topic. Now, 20 minutes into the episode, had a couple announcements. We are bringing back our highlights channel. I talked about this last week, like at the very end of the episode, so we did just want to mention it here, kind of early on. I guess it's not at the beginning of the episode because we are already 20 minutes in, but we are bringing back the highlights channel, Uncommon Energy Highlights. Go over and check it out. It's linked in the description. We hired a friend of mine to chop that up each week for us and uh post the videos. So if you don't get to watch all of the episode every week and you just want to see kind of like the highlights throughout the week, be sure to subscribe to that channel. And we're going to be doing some shorts and stuff over there eventually as well. That is the plan. And then also really quick, we did want to apologize for the technical difficulties at the beginning of last week's episode.
yeah.
Uh Neither of us really knows exactly what went wrong. We have these wireless USB mics that we use for those things, and I think it might have been some interference with like where it was plugged into my PC or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe it was low on battery too. It could have been a couple of different things, but yeah, we don't actually know what the problem was because they still had like 10% left in battery or something. So it was weird.
Yeah. But yeah, appreciate y'all bearing with us and the no face cams as well. I saw a couple people comment about missing the face cams. I think we probably uh, I mean, we obviously, I think, would prefer to like have the face cam setup going, but if it's the decision between putting out an episode and not putting out an episode, and we can put out an episode without a face cam, we're gonna do that before we don't put out an episode, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's so much easier in the situations that we are in sometimes, like in the past when we've been like traveling and trying to do an episode, and we like it's so much easier to not do the whole camera setup, and then
Yeah,
we can just both just kind of find somewhere to sit down and have a laptop open, recording on OBS just our voices. So yeah, for like the travel episodes, it's likely that a lot of them will be um no cameras, but they don't happen very often, so cameras will be pretty
yeah,
constant in
especially
the
because Azul
future.
doesn't go to tournaments anymore, so don't have to worry about that too much.
We moved our recording date to Tuesday specifically because of tournaments.
Yeah.
We weren't able to record on Mondays, so that won't be an issue. Except for ICs, I guess maybe.
All right, well, let's get into our first topic here, talking about TCG Pocket. The first new set since the release of the game has gone live. It is Mythical Island, and it is a mini set, so it's not a full-on expansion. There's only one booster pack artwork. It's the one with the Mew on it, and there's a ton of pretty good cards in this set, to be honest. Azul, have you toyed much with it yet?
No, I just opened a couple packs. 86 cards for Pocket being a mini set feels still like a lot though. Like,
Yeah, I mean, Genetic Apex was like 220 something cards, I think.
yeah, but I mean that's like the base set.
Sure,
Like
sure, sure.
you need some cards in there, but 86 feels like it could be a main set release. And from what I've seen, from what people are playing, it seems like there's a decent amount of new stuff going around. But I haven't really dabbled into myself. I haven't played around with it. Maybe it's something I'll try and do this week. Probably not because I'm just catching up with like what happened at Toronto. Plus, Champions League is coming up this weekend, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. So probably too busy with the main game, the
It
main
could be
Pokemon
your
TCG game. But
between Champions League round content. Boot up the Pocket, play a couple games while you're waiting for the next Champions League round.
no, I was like just like talking about stuff in between rounds. Like, lock in for the round, and then like a chance to kind of like decompress. I don't have to like think too hard or anything like that.
Yeah, but I mean,
Uh,
I think who did I see? It was it Jake or Pilot. One of them tweeted out a list of what the Pokemon Company said the top 5 cards were from the sets.
Maybe I could like
I think it
play
was
Pocket at
Pilot.
the same time. I could put Pocket on my screen and play Pocket at the same time while I'm also
True.
just double gaming. Also have BGs open as well.
I remember. I think it was Pablo one time did a stream where he was playing all 3 games at once, Go, VG, and TCG Online. I'm pretty sure he did that.
Someone's done that with Hearthstone before, where they'll be logged into every single region at the same time and trying to like climb on in Legend on Hearthstone in like 3 different regions at the same time. Because in Hearthstone the ladders are separate based on region, so they're in like Europe and America and Asia or whatever at the same time climbing on the
Yeah.
Legend ladders.
Here,
Uh,
yeah, as a tweet from Pilot, it said, "The Pokemon Company says the top 5 best cards in Mythical Island are Superior, Celebi EX, Vaporeon, Mew EX, and the Mythical Slab." I think it's definitely fair to say that Celebi EX and Superior are probably it's like It is like a mini set, but it definitely like added, I would say, a tier one contender archetype to the meta with the Celebi EX, 50 damage times flip a coin for each energy attached to this Pokemon, 50 for each heads. And then Superior has the classic jungle totem ability, doubling the grass energy for each grass energy attached to a Pokemon.
It almost seems like a better Guardy Mewtwo, because like, one of the problems with Guardy Mewtwo is, like, you're not doing anything until you find your Guardy, but the Celebi deck, by turn 2, you're swinging, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
flipping coins to swing, but you're still swinging turn 2, whereas, like, the Guardy Mewtwo deck is like, my Mewtwo's doing 50 damage, and if it takes you, like, 5 turns to find Guardy, you've, like, lost, like, because you did nothing the whole time. Um, so yeah, it almost seems like a better Guardy Mewtwo, because then once you get the Superior online, you're hitting as if you were potentially a Mewtwo, depending on how many energy you build up on your Celebes at that point, but,
Yeah. I've seen
um
some hilarious clips on Twitter of people like flipping so many coins, like 60 coins or something like that. I'm sure you've seen them too.
Yeah. I mean, now I wonder if there's just gonna be another deck that is just miserable, because the Misty decks were already miserable to play against.
Yeah.
Uh, is Celebi just gonna be that? Is it just like Misty 2.0? But now there's Misty and Celebi in the same format that are both good.
And you mentioned Mewtwo. They did give Mewtwo quite a bit here. So there's the Mew EX, which is fine, I would say. It's got genome hacking, the same attack as the Mew EX in the standard format. And then there's a supporter card that lets you pick up your active Mew EX and put it into your hand. So you can give yourself it could be like a little bit of a tank, right? 130 is a little squishy, I guess, for a EX Pokemon, but
Yeah.
you can get a hit in while you're setting up, pick it up, right? And then this is the bigger deal here, the mythical slab. You look at the top card of your deck. If that card is a psychic Pokemon, you put it into your hand. If it is not a psychic Pokemon, you put it onto the bottom of your deck.
It's pretty good. Like, any form of, like, not draw, but even like cycling like that is seems pretty decent in pocket.
Yeah,
One, even though it's just one card.
just one card. And sometimes you will kind of like mess yourself up because you'll
Do
go look
research.
you'll look at that top card. It's Professor's Research, and now it's on the bottom of your deck.
Although,
But
like, theoretically, it's not. Now you're top picking one of the cards that research would have got you, so you're behind one card, I guess, at that point. But
yeah. And then it also boosts just the consistency of setting up your stage 2, right? Because it finds the Curlia, it finds the Gardevoir. You play
yeah,
like a lot of Psychic Pokemon. And if you fit in something like the Mew EX, it adds more. You can also play the Sigilif here, which is an option as well. People have played the Meowth and the Mewtwo deck as a one of in the past. This is better. It's got more HP and it's a psychic
it
type,
does.
so you can theoretically hit something for weakness, right? Meowth couldn't do
Yeah,
that.
it also does 10 damage, which I think Meowth
Nope.
did 0.
Meowth does 10.
Oh, does it really? Oh,
Yeah, it
okay,
does 10.
never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. The one person I saw always hyping up the Meowth in the Guardy deck was Moffat, Nicholas Moffat.
Mhm.
Um, he was
I had it in my
spreading the
very
Meowth
first build of the deck,
propaganda. Yeah, uh,
but that was when I only had one Mewtwo EX.
I've seen love and hate for the Meowth on the timeline when the game first dropped and people were playing it.
I think it's fine, but the Sigilif definitely a better option. And then the last card we'll just really quickly mention. There was a couple interesting things with the fighting deck here. The Marshadow is a pretty good card, 40 plus. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an attack during your opponent's last turn, it does 60 more damage. And then there's the Aerodactyl EX. As long as it's in the active spot, your opponent can't play any Pokemon from their hand to evolve their active Pokemon. Could be a little annoying, but most of the time they're going to be able to get around it, right? And then the Land
Um,
Crush is just pretty efficient. 80 for 2 is not too bad. And then I think one more thing to mention here would be the Pokemon Flute. Put a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard pile onto their bench.
it just
So
seems pretty tough. Like, you'd have to KO something before there's even something in the discard pile, right?
yeah, 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 yeah. But it's like late game, people can't play around Sabrina at the end of the game.
Yeah,
Right, that's the big thing,
yeah, that is true.
the
Could add to
potential
that.
for this card. But yeah, you pull anything good out of your few packs so far, Azul?
I think I got a Pidgeot EX. I opened like 20, 30 packs too, because I had built up all my hourglasses and
Mhm.
stuff like that. So
I had a bunch of hourglasses as well. I got the immersive Celebi EX out of like my
mm.
5th pack. It was so sick, and I've already pulled another one, so I have 2 of this thing.
Yeah, I did get a CLBX as well. Now that you mentioned, not the immersive. I got the base one.
Yeah.
But dude, I still have yet to pull a God pack or a gold card. Like, those are the two things I haven't done yet.
I have
Love
not
new
gotten a
packs.
god pack, but I do have 3 gold cards, one of each gold card from Genetic Apex, so
But
we'll take those.
they need to bring the god packs to the TCG, just packs. I don't know why we never got those, and because it's been a thing in Japan for forever now, right? It's like a
We
while.
The closest thing we got was in 151. You can get a god pack in English, quote unquote god pack, but it's only with the Charmander, Charmeleon,
Yeah,
Charizard
that's
line,
right.
Blastoise,
And it was the
Wartortle, like the starter
it's
lines.
alternate arts too, right? Like it was
Yeah.
specific, yeah, those were cool, but I don't know why we don't have god packs in our normal sets like Japan does. It's just kinda
Yeah.
like a cool Easter egg thing to like have it, and it like
Do they
it's not
have them
gonna
in
hurt the
every
pull rate.
set in Japan, or is it only their special sets?
Ooh, actually, you know what?
It might only be special
It might
sets,
only be their special sets. I'm sure I can ask Lorelai. Lorelai definitely knows.
but it would be definitely cool if it was for our special sets. Like, I've seen
Yeah.
so many
We got a special
uh
set coming up.
we do, yeah, and who knows, maybe they'll do something, right? They've got some cool things happening in Japan with that special set, the Terastal Festival, which is gonna be our Prismatic Evolution. They've got the unique reverse hollow pattern. They've also got the Master Ball stamped potential, right? Which would
Oh, I
be
don't know
really
about
cool.
that. What is that?
There's like a stamped like, do you remember it was for 151, they also had reverse hollows that were stamped with a Master Ball. They would be stamped with a Pokeball, but then they could be stamped with a Master Ball.
Oh, I
It's
didn't know
like
about
basically
that.
the same thing.
Oh, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's basically
Okay.
just a reverse hollow that has a
Okay.
Pokeball stamp in the middle, but then
Yeah.
some of them can have a Master Ball stamp,
Master
which is
Ball.
like very
Mm.
rare. And then, but yeah, I've seen people opening packs of Terrestrial Festival on like Twitter or YouTube Shorts and stuff that are just pulling one of each of the Evolution alternate arts. Maybe, just maybe, there will be something like that in the English set. Who knows? That would be super cool.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, more stuff like that is always really cool. And I'm saying that as someone who's like, I'm not even like a collector person. I don't open packs or whatever like that. But I
You
still
can
want to get my
appreciate
god
it.
pack. I want to get my god pack on Pocket. Where's it at? Or give me the gold one for. I haven't got a gold card yet either. First, I guess we'll start there. But
Be careful what you wish for.
um,
Did you see Hegster's God pack?
yeah, 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 I
He
did,
got
yeah.
like 2 Diglets and a Marowak. Like,
Although the memes, I saw someone memed one once, and it was Exodia. They put out a
yeah,
meme there.
Blue Eyes White Dragon,
Yeah, stuff
a
like
base
that.
set Charizard.
Yeah, it's good memes for sure. But yeah, dude, I'm excited for this was a pretty quick. How many months are we into the Pocket thing? 2, 3 months? 2 months?
1 month, I think.
What? They already
Yeah,
came out with a special set? Yo, they gotta
yeah.
slow down. How much have they got in reserves then? How much stuff they got?
Who knows? I think
They have to
they've
have a
said
lot
that
if
there
they're
will
already
be a new
releasing.
set every 90 days, I think is the thing.
What?
I think, and then the mini set every 45 days.
Oh, wait, you said not for some reason when you said 90 days, I thought you said, like, way less than 90. 90 days is 3 months, that's reasonable. You said
Yes.
90 days, I was thinking you said I don't know what I thought you said.
It just seemed like less time than it was.
Yeah, yeah, I guess, sure. Yeah, but 90 days, I guess that's reasonable.
Yeah.
For, like, a major set. Okay, okay.
And then like 45 days. So it's like, I guess there'll be a new set every 45 days, is like kind
So
of the thought.
there's gonna be a special set in between every major
I th-
set?
I feel like I heard that somewhere. I don't remember where.
Dude, where they got the whole squad over there working on it? They must have hired a dude, hopefully they're not
Well,
taking away
dude,
the
they probably
Pokemon
made a
TCG employees.
gajillion dollars from this thing.
Well, yeah, of course, I'm just saying that hopefully they're not they got them working overtime. They're working on the Pokemon TCG and they're working on this. No wonder our cards. No wonder we got Budew in the format, bro. What the heck? They just ran out of ideas and they're like, all right, give him a Budew. No, I'm just joking. I'm sure it's two different completely departments at this point for sure. There's so much you have to put into both of them. There's no way. It's the same people working on the both games. Maybe there's a little crossover, but not a ton, I would imagine.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the Toronto Regional Championships, which took place this past weekend. Let's start off by looking at the meta share. So there was 2,100 players at this tournament.
Well, hold on, Chip. You gotta do some answering here. Where's the best of the rest? What happened to the best of the rest? What'd you guys do with it?
I think it
Where's
gets
the
built
rest?
out, but there just wasn't a time that they showed it. I don't know.
Dude, it's so annoying for this one specifically because there's so much to like talk about. If we look at the day one meta, we can start by bringing that up, which is there's some interesting stuff here that made it into the top six. But I want to know, where did Guardy land?
Yeah.
Where did there's a couple other big ones here that I'm like missing because they're not right in front of me, so I can't remember what they are. There's a like Golden Go made it up here to
Yeah,
number
you
three.
really care about them a lot, right?
Yeah, in the moment I remember what they were. Dude, what am I missing here? There's some misser. Oh, Dragapult Thorns. I'm curious where Dragapult Thorns ended up.
Okay. So
Um,
fun fact, I can divulge this, I guess. Um, Iron Thorns EX was originally the 5th most played deck when I saw the graphic in the morning. But then I looked at it and I was like, this includes both Quad Thorns and
mm,
Thorns Dragapult. I
yeah, they
sent a
got to
quick little
separate those.
message Shout out to Christopher Szymanski, was able to make some magic happen, got them separated,
That's good.
and I think that Pult Thorns was the seventh deck. It was the next deck up was Pult Thorns.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to know, as well as Guard 4 as well, because I feel like Guard 4 is definitely been a deck that is, it's popping up in the results. The play rate hasn't been, like, ridiculously high, but definitely popping up in the results for sure. So,
Yeah,
that's a little bit of
honestly,
disappointment.
I don't know. Arcanine publishes all the deck lists from the tournament now, right?
Ye I mean, I don't know if they are right
I
now.
think they have been. I think they've been publishing the deck lists from every tournament since
They have been.
LAIC. Um,
Well, maybe they didn't tweet about it this time, maybe
but
because it's to be
they
expected.
have the data as well. Like they should just make a there should just be a blog post for each tournament or something like that that has all the data and the information. That would be cool to see from Arcanine for sure.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like should always be shown, like, every single major is the best of the rest. Because I feel like that's a lot of well, maybe not every meta, but this meta and the last couple of metas specifically, these have been pretty wide metas, so it's pretty cool information to, like, talk about, 1, and then look at as, like, a viewer. Like, I really wanna see what the next 6 decks, like, what the play rate was of the next 6 decks, so, that was a little bit of a disappointment for this one specifically,
Yeah,
but yeah, Drago.
they have released all of the deck lists, by the way, for
Okay.
every player who played in the tournament.
Yeah, Drago was the most popular, which wasn't a surprise. Charizard was number 2, which also wasn't a surprise. Number 3, though, I think probably was a little bit of a surprise. I'm not surprised to see it. It's a little bit more popular than I would have guessed at 7%. I was thinking probably like 6 or 5 is probably where I would have sat. But if everything else next to it is also just like 6%, it being the third most popular deck isn't like that big of a shock, I guess.
Yeah, the Golden Go here. Yeah, we were debating what the second card should be, but there's like some Palkia, some Togekiss. So yeah, Energy Search Pro it is, right? Because that is really the card that put Golden Go over the edge. The other extra pieces are just kind of in addition to that, right? But yeah, the Golden Go. Yeah, we talked about it, I think last week or the week before, about how it was like a deck that for whatever reason just probably would never get that popular. Here it is, third most popular deck, right?
Yeah, kind of made some moves, and then we saw it on the was it the winning in or yeah winning in right today.
No, no, they were already in day two.
Oh, that was already in day 2 when that match happened.
Yeah.
um, yeah, the golden goes there.
And
It's
there was
here.
still, there was 9 Golden Go in day 2, 4% of the day 2 field.
So it did have a little bit of a drop down for sure. Didn't convert super well, but that's probably due to Charizard. The Charizard matchup's pretty tough for the go.
Yeah, and
And
when
then
we
Raging Bolt.
oh, go ahead.
One thing I want to point out, I predicted Raging Bolt to go down to 5%. I think is what I said last week. It did come down to 6.5.
And what did I say it would be?
6,
7.
7. All right. Yeah, so you're a little bit closer. But yeah, it did come down quite a bit, which I think makes sense. The deck is just kind of mid, right? Charizard's been picking up steam for some reason, even though it's unfavored against Regidrago, so that's kind of hard to explain. But um, yeah, the Charizard matchup's tough for the Golden or for the Raging Bolt. The Golden Go is also good against Raging Bolt. Cloth is good against Raging Bolt, which is the number 5 deck there. And actually, kind of a surprise as well here is Miraidon actually at 6%. I felt like it was on the way out almost completely, and I don't think it
Yeah.
had a showing at the tournament overall. But it being at 6% was definitely a little bit of a surprise for where the meta was going. Is
It's just a super approachable deck, I think. And that's something that I think is easy to underestimate. Like,
that where all the Raging Bolt players went? They just hopped over to Iron.
probably. That is
Some of
probably where
them.
some of this meta share went from. There was also Roaring Moon that was decently popular. Not like massively, but there was
Yeah.
a decent amount of that. That was the ninth most popular deck in day 2.
That
More
showed up
popular than
recently
Golden
at
Go in day 2.
was Stuttgart the most recent regional that happened in Europe? Was that it? Because
Yes.
Warren Moon was pretty popular at Stuttgart as well, I think. But then in today too, Drago took over. Charizard kind of maintained, but then we had some newcomers pop up. One deck that you predicted as a pretty good play, I think, right, was Snorlax.
Yeah, my
Um,
2 caster predictions on the weekend, they always have us pick, like, what our 2 cards are that we want. My 2 picks were Snorlax and Lugia.
and they both came out of the depths.
I
What
could have
percentage
been
were they
boring
at?
like Pablo and Hegster and just picked Regidrago and Charizard, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper. Obviously, Regidrago and Charizard were going to be the 2 most
Yeah.
popular decks. Let's take another step. I think I nailed it. I'm not gonna lie. I think I did pretty good here.
Honestly, you guys need to change that prediction thing because it's kind of all over the place and doesn't make much sense. You guys should pick like 2 decks that aren't on like the top 6 decks to like do well? Like the decks you think will do the best that aren't in the top 6 or something? Because sometimes you guys are predicting cards, sometimes you guys are predicting decks, and yeah, it's pretty easy to just pick Charizard Drago, right? So, um, you guys should like pick like your underrated, the underdogs. What do you think are the underdogs that could do well
Yeah.
going into the weekend? But yeah, Lugia and Stall. I know the yeah me. I had been bringing up Lugia as well. Stall, I was a little bit less hype on personally.
And the
Um,
second featured card here for Stall is the Mimikyu, but really, it probably should be Klefki because that was the bigger card inclusion for the weekend. That was a new thing that the Snorlaxes were playing because Klefki completely walls out the Terapagos Cloth deck after you get rid of their switch cards. You just can bring up the Brute Bonnet. They got no way to get out.
oh yeah.
You just stick a Klefki active, and that's it.
Oh, is that I guess that does make sense. That's their win condition in that matchup?
Yeah.
Just clef keys? You just
Yep.
chain clef keys? Yeah, because 'cause I'm looking at this list now from, Stephen Lowe real fast. Oh, no, it's not Stephen Lowe. What list was I looking at? Dennis. That'd be the Dennis list? Yes, Dennis has got the double clef key in there, and it is the box order build. So you just get back Night Stretcher, Counter Catcher, and
Yep.
go pass, and then they switch card, and then you do it again, repeat. Okay. Tekken for the cloth deck. Interesting.
Yeah, Cyrus Davis played it as well. I believe there's an enriching energy as the ace spec in this deck as well. Yeah, see, this list had pretty decent success. 25th, 46th, 81st, not too bad.
Imagine if they played a real ace spec. Imagine how much better they could have done.
Oh man, I did
There's no
see an
way.
enriching energy on a Klefki jousting away a tool card at some point. I don't remember who it was. I don't think it was one of these players.
Dude, I don't know about the enriching energy, but the Clucky is a pretty cool tech for that matchup. I guess probably well, maybe one of the reasons for the lack of success of that deck this weekend, although they did okay still. There were still 2 in top 16 of the off Terrapagos. They didn't have a super they weren't very popular. I thought it would have been more popular. Actually, that's what we didn't we predict that to be the 3rd most popular deck was Cloth Terrapagos?
We did, yeah. I
But
think
yeah, it was close. It was 6%, but
Well, I think yeah. It was up there. I think I said 7%, but I said I think I was like I think I said I don't know it'll quite get to third, but I think it probably will be like 7%,
yeah.
but I don't know that 7%. I guess 7% could be the third place deck. And it did end up being the third
Yeah.
place deck was 7%, but it was just Golden Go.
Yeah, the meta is in such a weird spot right now because Charizard has no. It's kind of how I felt about like Raging Bolt, maybe I don't know, but like Charizard has no business being that's this popular when it has like a solidly unfavorable Drago matchup, and if there was a way to tech for the matchup, people would have figured it out by now. But there's just you're just unfavored against Drago as Charizard,
Dude,
but
the thing
still
is
it's
that Charizard
12%.
just look at the rest of these decks though.
Charizard's good
Charizard
against all of
just
them.
smashes them.
Yeah, but then this is why we have now that we've talked about the meta percentages, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Reggie Dragos in top cut because they are just feeding on these Charizards and stuff like that, where people are trying to. I guess listen. At the end of the day, if you're playing for a top 32, go ahead, keep playing Charizard. I guess if that's what you want to do, but you're not winning these tournaments with Charizard. It's like it's not impossible. We just saw double Charizards in the finals of Stuttgart or whatever, but it's like the more consistent result is going to be 4 Dragos and cut, I feel like, if people keep playing Charizard at these rates because it just can't compete. Just can't compete. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a really weird spot where there's a lot of decks being kind of held back from dealing with Drago because of Charizard's popularity, like Raging Bolt, like Miraidon. They can't compete because you have stuff like Cloth and like Charizard being so popular. Now, Cloth's Drago matchup, I'm a little bit more unsure about personally, but Charizard specifically, I know has got a bad Drago matchup. But these decks can't come in to check Drago if Charizard is going to remain a 12% deck. But it is a lot of people like Charizard. It's a very accessible deck now with that League Battle deck that just got released. It's really like it's $30 to basically get a Charizard deck. So, um, yeah, I don't know. The meta's in a really weird spot, but we do have a month break coming up here, so maybe things will evolve quite a bit by the time Birmingham comes around.
Let's take a look at some of these Drago decks, starting off, of course, with Calvin Connors. First place list. Cal's been playing for a very long time. This is his first regionals win. He got second place a couple of years ago to Tord at Peoria. I don't know if you remember that
Yeah, I
tournament
do.
or
Yeah,
not, but Cal got donked, I think, in game two. Like heartbreaker, like Sobble pass into Tord. I think it was like
I mean,
flower selecting into the Colress
oh
into
yeah, I
the like last
remember.
switch card.
I think he had to literally guru into a piece as well. He had to probably listen to
Yeah.
keep the chain going or something.
It was so ridiculous. So, I mean, it ended up being fitting that this final match, like, ended up being so exciting at the very end. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely watch it. Spoiler alert. At the very end, it did basically well, Cal was probably still okay because he was so far ahead, but
I don't
it was
actually
gonna
know.
get a
I
little
think
sketchy. Callie had every resource left, Cal had no resource left, so
actually, yeah, I think Callie literally had game on the previous turn. Callie just had to commit to the Cleffa line. Callie prized something where it was impossible for Callie to actually pull off the big play that Callie went for that turn, and Callie had checked the prize cards, and with Cal being at a gust, Callie just basically had to push Cleffa that turn and basically would have won the game on the next turn. So, but yeah, it did come down to the wire in the end. There was a moment where like Callie made it winnable for uh Cal, and then Cal did take advantage of it and did end up winning.
yeah, it came down to the swinging sphere of Alolan
Yeah.
Exeggutor. Heads and Cal probably loses. Tails, he wins on the spot, and boom, it was the tails. Super
Yeah,
sick. It's so crazy that we've seen so many. I guess it's not that many, but it was like this match and then also NAIC finals literally came down to a coin flip as well, the confusion flip.
yep.
So sick, man. That's
Did
like
it
I
really?
don't
I
know
don't
if
even
that's
remember
like
that.
it's like super exciting in the moment, but for like the competitive nature of the game, does it feel good for these high stakes matches to come down to a 50-50?
I mean, as the player in the moment, it definitely probably feels pretty terrible, but, like, it and a lot of people will tune into the Pokemon TCG finals of a major tournament and chalk the whole game up to the 50-50, but it's just so much more than that. Like I said, like, Callie shouldn't have even been in a position where that 50-50 was the reality. If Callie had played better, that Executor line wouldn't have existed for Cal to take advantage of. Like, everything when you go to top deck for your turn, there's X% chance that you draw X card, and X card leads to X line. It's the same thing. It's all variance at the end of the day. It being
Sure.
in the form of a coin flip or a top deck isn't any different. So, unless if we were just sitting there and the only things we were doing was flipping coins, um, playing Pokeballs and Pokemon catchers and swinging sphenes around and stuff like that, then we probably all just quit the game. But there's
You
a reason
mentioned
that we all sit to
Pokeball.
play. Yeah.
We'll talk about Pokeball in a minute, but
Let's run through a couple more of these Drago lists. We can look at Calvin. The big standout for me from Calvin's list was the Temple of Sinnoh. Like almost
yeah,
no one was playing that, and
yep.
I don't know if it was to prepare for Lugia specifically. Lugia did seem like a pretty good play going into this weekend, but also it's good to have multiple stadiums for the Cloth deck for the Cloth matchup. Just multiple ways to bump their stadium, and then
Yep.
Sinnoh's pretty good against them as well.
Here's Callie's list. Again, pretty similar to what we've seen. It's actually the exact same 60 that Grant played to Sacramento.
Yeah, and the same 60
And
that Owen Rhodes played
played to
Sacramento.
Sacramento as well. And Owen Rhodes
Owen
got
Rhodes
top 8 at this event, so it changed
switched it
something
up.
about his list.
Go to Owens next. Dude, I don't know. Oh, it's got the Noivern in there. Chill.
However, and he was ready for Bolt.
Also, the Trapicos, I guess, as well is pretty good against them.
Yeah, true.
Against the
Is that
Cloth.
good? Yeah. Well, they can still poison you, the cloth deck, so it doesn't like
Yeah.
just win.
You can like set up for probably like some Kyurem plays or like Dragapult plays though. Like, you just buy a turn, put a little damage in
Sure.
play. But Guja's also like such a good attacker in that matchup as well. I don't think you need I mean having both seems unnecessary.
But yeah, that's nothing else super stand outish from Callie's list. Just a strong, solid list,
Yep.
right? And
Hmm.
then we did have Caleb Gettimer, Lucas Zing, and Grant Shin all on the same 60, getting fourth, fifth, and 10th place, respectively. Top cut for this tournament was 12 players.
Yep.
So we'll go all the way down to 12.
And I will mention a
Um,
Top Gun as well. It was X12 was the cutoff for cut here. So
yes.
X2 was very comfortably into cut. And then we actually had, and it was pretty predictable. I was running the numbers like 2 rounds into the tournament day 1, and then I ran the numbers again going into day 2. Um, that and yeah, it's, very comfortable for X12 to be making cut. So, that was, definitely interesting to see the tie rate increasing by quite a bit, but also we had that extra round in day 2. We had the 5th round or extra round in day 1, excuse me. We had 9-4. So, there's only the 2nd tournament this year where we've had 9 rounds day 1 besides Baltimore was the other one. Um, so that I think definitely had an impact as well as making it, like, so much more comfortable for, the X12s to make cut.
Yeah. So this is Grant Shin's list. I think he's the one who built this deck off his top 4 finish. A couple cards different here. He did cut the Executioner, which I'm a little sad.
Thank goodness, bro. That card is so mid.
But there's still remnants of the Executioner here. We do see the Terra Orb hanging around. But yeah, Grant convinced Lucas on this deck, and I think he sent it to Caleb Gettimer literally the morning of the tournament, and Caleb decided to play it.
Got that Pokestop in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
so that was
nothing
the
nothing
Pokestop.
too crazy. I definitely am a big fan of, like, 5-2 or, excuse me, the 5-3 recovery to Fire Energy line. I think that's just, like it opens up so much more reach for the deck in the mid late game. I don't understand why people are still playing 3 Fire Energy, even with the Rad Art in there. That used to be my hang up a little bit was
But it's
like
5.
or I didn't mean to say 5, I meant 3/2.
Okay.
3 recovery cards, 2 fire,
Yeah,
3/2
yeah,
on
yeah.
that split. Yeah, I'm questioning why people are still playing 3 basic fires. I think it's just like you get so much more reach in the mid late game by having the 3rd recovery card. I don't know what the correct count of recovery cards is. I just know 3 recovery cards, 2 fire energy is definitely better than the 3/2.
Yeah. And then last Drago list here is Christian Labella's.
2 Dragapult and the orb.
Also has
Definitely
Lost Vacuum in here.
yeah, the Lost Vacuum is interesting.
No stadium.
I talked about it a little bit when Labella was on stream because people were curious about it. I mean, one of the biggest strengths for it, I think, is that you can use it to bump Pokestop by using their Pokestop to like aggressively find your way to bump Pokestop, which is kind of nice. But that's like the main value I can see for playing Vacuum versus something else. But up against like the Pokestop decks, you can like Pokestop aggressively into your stadium bump and then
It
bump
can
it, whereas otherwise you'd mill your stadium.
it can do the things that Jamming Tower does as well, while also
Yeah,
doing that, right? Like against
yeah.
Gardevoir, you can do some things
Especially if
against
people are going
Raging
back to
Bolts.
back to slower guarding with like the double artisan, jamming tower becomes not bad against Gardevoir. It's still better than vacuum, I would say, but the lost vacuum gives you a little bit of different options in other matchups.
Yeah.
But
Then we did
then
let's go
oh, go ahead.
through the
Sorry.
rest of Top Cut, yeah, starting with Raging Bolt here from Vincent Owen, the first top cut from Raging Bolt in this entire format, and Vince was the first
Really?
seed going into cut as well. He was dominating this tournament.
Wait, is that true?
Yeah, it's Raging Bolt's first top cut in the Surging Sparks format.
No shot. Are you
I fact
serious?
checked this because I said it on
Hold
stream.
on. Are you counting the Bogota special event?
No.
Okay, we'll let that one slide, Chip.
I
Now
think I
I'm done.
said, first top cut at a regional championships is what I said.
Okay, okay, that's fair. That's fair then. That's
Yeah,
fair. That checks out. I'm just making sure because that's
yeah.
just that's a crazy stat, but it makes sense because the deck's kind of bad. But it's good against Reggie Drago, but not good enough. We did see Vincent take down who was it? Oh,
He
it's
lost to
Christian.
Cal in top 4.
Yeah, beat Christian in top 8, I believe, but then did end up losing to Cal in top 4. So couldn't beat
Yeah.
all the Dragos. I'm sure beat quite a few on the way there. And
Yeah,
one thing you pointed at
he beat
oh, go ahead.
Jishin in the tournaments.
Yeah. Big
I'll
thing
pull up
that
the search data.
stands I was say the big thing that stands out here, you mentioned it to me, was there's no boss's orders in here. Oh, and why is there no boss in here? It is kind of crazy to look at. I mean, I could see there being enough between bundle plus the item cost that you don't need it, but it definitely is a little interesting for sure.
Yeah, and there's a couple other interesting cards in this list. The Iono and Briar is one of supporters, the Lost Vacuum as a
Mhm.
tech. Just a couple of trekking shoes. There's only 3 energy retrieval. Come on, Owen. We need the 4th energy retrieval.
I don't. I kind of vibe with the 3 to be honest. 4 was
No,
a little overkill.
dude. It's so important. Gotta get your
um,
energies.
so yeah, definitely playing for like the potential for like comebacks. I mean, I feel like the number one. There are probably other reasons for the vacuum, but I mean, one of them has to be the cloth matchup. I would
Ooh,
assume, so you can Pokestop into your stadium bump and be able to bump their area 0. Um,
here's Vince's tournament run. He actually beat Cal in Swiss and then lost to
mm,
Cal in top 4.
yeah, so beat every Drago except Cal the second time and tied. I guess probably double ID there
ID,
at the
yeah.
end. Yeah,
I think he and Jishin did play a game, but then they might have tied after a game.
interesting. One thing I will mention, I do like bringing this up or pointing this out. It's always very interesting. All these little things are very, very interesting to me. I think Kieran, we saw Tord make this mistake at
Mhm.
Gdansk, or one of them. Tord made this mistake. I think Kieran should have played it out
Yeah.
at whatever round against Caleb, because I assume Kieran at that point maybe didn't know for sure, but could have probably guessed that Caleb did not play Temple of Sinnoh. I think Cal was the only Temple of Sinnoh Drago in the top cut area. Um, Pretty much most Drago players had cut it, and it was actually predictable that Kieran would be in the asymmetrical cut play-in round, and it could have been against a Gardevoir, which is probably a closer matchup than a Drago no Sinnoh. So I think there was a mistake there from Kieran to not play it out against Caleb there, and instead went with the ID. Because it was we knew for sure there would be 3 players with 33 or 4 players with 33 points who would be the first 4 seeds, and Kieran ID'd to 32 points. So it was guaranteed to play in that effective top 16 round. So I think that was a mistake there from Kieran to not play it out against Caleb. Did end up hitting another Reggie Drago in that top 16 without Temple of Sinnoh. Did play against Owen, I believe. Kieran hit Owen, but did lose to Owen. in that one.
Yeah, I think he tweeted that he, like, didn't get a Lugia V down until turn 3,
Both games. And
both
he said he still
games.
almost won game 1 or something like that. Um, had a rough showing in that one. But,
Yeah,
Kieran was my prediction to win the tournament once Top Cut was kinda set. I was like, I mean, Lugia felt like a pretty good way playing this tournament. None of the Dragos have Sinnoh. I didn't know that Calvin had the Sinnoh at that point. Besides Calvin, Sinnoh, didn't seem like any of the Dragos had Sinnoh. None of the Guardies were definitely teching for Lugia. Although that matchup, I still feel like Guardy is pretty, like, fine against Lugia even without an Enhanced Hammer or a Sinnoh. Like, Guardy can still go, toe to toe with the Lugia deck. So I was like, my prediction was Kieran to take it all down, but
yeah.
I think
He
probably
said
didn't
that
mirror in that last round.
he felt good about his bracket too, said it was all Drago and no Sinnoh. So, like, on paper, the matchup, right, should be good for him.
Yep.
But in Pokemon, you never know, right? I mean, for 3 like, it was actually happened something similar in the seniors finals. This didn't get, uh we didn't get video of it for what I talked about earlier, but it was a block lax from Carson Washer versus Justin Templar playing Charizard. Very good matchup for block lax. Justin loses a long game 1. Game 2, Carson whiffs. I think he said 6 flutes, 0 hits on 6 flutes. I think he hit a Duskull, he said, which doesn't matter. And
Yeah, Justin.
then
Oh,
Justin won
man.
game 2, and then Carson can't win because of top cut rules.
Man. I'm actually looking at the list right now. Justin did play the Canceling Cologne, though, so okay.
Yeah.
You have
I
a
mean,
way
it's
around
like
the
it's not
yeah,
fr it's pretty good, and they both I actually talked to both of them before the final match as well, and Justin said they had played the matchup a lot, and it was so bad for him because they
yeah.
are both on, they, like, work together and testing group together, so, like,
That's
they
the
had
way it
played
is
against each
for
other.
that's the way it is for, like, stall and control and cut, though, right? As soon as the attacking deck gets one game, it's
Yeah,
so
it's
hard to
tough.
win the set. And honestly, I've, talked about this. I think I don't hate that's one of the reasons I don't mind time rules existing, 'cause that came actually up a couple times in my chat where people were like, "Why don't they just have Top Cut be untimed or finals be untimed?" I was like, "I don't know, I kinda like the fact that stall and control are nerfed in cut a little bit, um, because of that rule." It wouldn't make them that much better if it wasn't there, but, um, yeah. So, yeah, Lugia, me and you both predicted to be a pretty good play this weekend. Looks like Kieran either agreed or just didn't change decks because he hasn't changed decks for a while.
He played
And
something different at LAIC, I wanna say,
no, I think he played
or
Lugia.
Sacramento. Did he go to Sacramento?
No, he wasn't at Sacramento, I don't think.
Okay.
If he did play Lugia there, it would make sense why he had a bad tournament maybe. I didn't see him around at Sacramento, I don't think he was there. I think he's only played Lugia this season as far as I know. Because
Okay.
he played at LAIC, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost
I guess I'm
positive.
thinking of Rahul, the other Lugia fella who he did
Yeah,
change decks at Sacramento. He played,
Charizard, I believe.
yeah, Charizard. Yeah,
Yeah,
Kieran stayed true to his Lugia roots.
yeah. Before we get to the Guardians, there was a control and cut. That's a deck that I get asked questions about all the time, and I never have an answer because I don't know. You have to play control to like kind of know how control is in the current format. Control
Oh my
in like
goodness.
Pidgeot control can never be truly terrible. I think in the current format or meta. Um, but you look at something like this, and it's like I don't know. I mean, it looks fine, sure, whatever. I don't really have too much to say on this. I don't know if you have anything to say on this. The Toad Scroll, though, I like Toad Scroll. I'll say that. Toad Scroll's sick.
You're a big fan of the Toad Scroll in the format currently, and the
I am.
Genesect. You also really like Genesect a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Big fan of Genesect, big fan of Toad Scroll. The tech I don't know, disruptive tech Pokemon. I feel like we don't see those very often in the Pokemon TCG anymore. So whenever we see them get used, maybe that's why I'm a big fan of Pult Thorns, to be honest. 'Cause it plays the Toad Scroll. You could put a Genesect in there.
This control list did also have the Mawile, which is a nice segue into the Gardevoir list because that is kind of the new innovation here. This Gardevoir list, played by a few people, had the Mawile in it. Henry Chow had it as well. I guess they didn't play I thought they played the same 60, but
No, it's like stretchers versus double rod, a couple differences. So
okay.
they definitely talked about the Mawile. There was some communication there, but I don't know if they fully discussed the final 60. One decided it looks like Henry going with the stretchers and the Moonlit Hill. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, the
Henry, Jesse Spencer, and then Josh Frink also played this in day 2. I'm pretty sure Josh made. Yeah, okay, Josh played this list. Yeah.
Yeah, and, for anyone who's curious about the Mawile, it's can be used in a couple different matchups, but the main matchup it's for is the Drago matchup, because you can pressure their switch cards just by kind of playing the game, And if they go for big Kyurem plays, or you can like trap something in the active with them all while early, or just like bring up a Drago and kind of punch it, force like a prime or a switch out of them. And they do draw pretty aggressively through their deck with researches, so they do burn resources. You can get to the point where you can trap something with Mawile in the end game and just kind of win by bringing up like a Squawkabilly or a Mew or a
Yeah.
Pheasantipity, and they just deck out. So
There's also just a handful of decks out there that you just can win with Mawile. Like, I
yeah,
mean, one of this deck's in theory worst matchups would be Miraidon, right? If they just put
yeah. They don't put a
one
switch
of
card
their
anymore.
many things that can't retreat in play, you just win with Mawile. Like, I
There's a
imagine
lot of
they
things you can trap.
this
Yeah.
group collectively probably won so many games because of Mawile. Like, the opponent's not expecting it, right? That's like the benefit of playing a card like this. It's a lot less impactful at the next tournament than it was at this tournament, right?
Yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, all the Drago players I'm sure going to cut knew about the Guardy player's tech, but even
Right.
if you know about it, it's about how you just don't really have a choice but to sometimes burn through your deck more aggressively. And actually, in that top 8 match or top 16 match, Davidson versus Caleb.
Yeah.
Um,
Which that was a cool one to get to feature, by the way, because they
yeah,
just played in the finals of Louisville. So I think it's always really cool when those type of things happen. Obviously, both players playing completely different decks, right? But it's still kind of a cool storyline to follow.
yeah, we could have seen Guardy go a little bit deeper there. I don't know how Henry Chow's games against I believe played against Calvin went, but yeah, Davidson basically had game 3 locked up, I think. But then gave Caleb his only out in bringing up the squawkabilly so Caleb could get access to motivate without
Yeah.
having to use Legacy Star. So it was kind of a bummer to see that one play out. I mean, I'm happy for Caleb to get the dub, but I know Davidson is probably kicking himself over that one. Um, yeah, there's a lot of interesting lines. The lines are definitely pretty complicated for this deck up against Drago to some extent for sure. We saw earlier in the tournament Josh Frank make some mistakes and not play as aggressively around the Mawile. Kind of did the same thing up against was it Moffitt? I think it might have been Moffitt versus Frank. Frank kind of brought up a Drago that he shouldn't have and gave Moffitt a free switch card effectively. And it was really interesting to see like how that played out. It's like, yeah, if you just actually after they use Kyurem or something, if you just don't pivot their Pokemon for them by bringing something else up, it forces the switch card, and that's when Mawile can kind of take over. So it's really cool to see how strong of a tech card it actually is in the matchup when it's like utilized correctly. Like the opportunities that like did kind of build up throughout games,
I mean,
definitely there.
based on results, though, it doesn't seem like it really fixes the Drago matchup. It
I
feels like
don't
it's
know.
still favored for Drago.
I don't know because every time we saw it happen, the Guardy player threw. Like the Guardy player basically had it locked up, and then they made some mistakes, and it was like, yeah, the Mawile was the potential eventual win condition, or like they made some errors where like they couldn't play to it as aggressively. So like, yeah, I don't know. It might make the matchup like the 50-50. One big thing you have to kind of question at this point with these decks like Guardy and Charizard, and I don't have the correct answer here, is should we have just been playing Manaphy the whole time so we don't just get Kyurem for free? Sure, they can Kyurem us eventually with their canceling clone combo, but why are we making it so easy for them? I think this is like a question that I kind of asked to my stream during Toronto. It's like, are these Charizard players just being dinguses and not putting Manaphy in their deck when they just should put Manaphy in deck so we don't just give the free Kyurem option to the Drago players, or is it really just not worth the space? Because we see all the Gardevoir players going back to these slower builds. They add the Manaphy. Sure, the Mawwile's in there as well, which is like a new tech on top of Manaphy, but like should we have been really giving this free Kyurem option over to the Drago players this whole time? And I'm sure sometimes people do overextend, and I know all the Guardy players and Charizard players like to think they're super smart by like baiting the Drago player into using their Kyurem early, and haha, now I took advantage of your no energy in play, yada yada yada. But when you play against the better Drago players, they're not going to do that. Wouldn't it be nice to have a Manaphy? I don't know. Maybe Charizard's problem is that
They're not gonna cure him you on the first turn, but they will cure him you on the second turn, and
or
it's
third
still
turn
pretty
or
bad. Yeah.
yeah. Um yeah, maybe Charizard's problem is that against the Drago matchup is literally just that people are not playing Manaphy. I don't know. I don't know because I haven't been playing that matchup, but I haven't like try hard testing that matchup or anything like that. So I could just be wrong, which is also fine. But it definitely made me think about it this weekend, seeing the Guardy players go back to the Manaphy and stuff.
Well, that's the top cut there. That was the 12 players in top cut. Congratulations to each of them, and congratulations to Cal Connor on his first regional victory. There were a few more Reggie Drago in top 32, but it's kind of wild how like
They're just all at
big
the
the
top.
fall off is, right? How top heavy the Drago is here.
Yeah, I mean they just it's just the best deck, right? Gets pushed all the way to the top.
Yeah.
Like Vance Kelly, world champion there. top 16. A couple Cloth Terapagos. Was there any new tech in the Cloth Terapagos there? Oh, Vance had the Halucha. That's something that not many people are playing.
Advance had the Halucha and the vacuum here.
Who had the vacuum as well. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I wonder if there's more to the vacuum than the things we mentioned as well. If there's something we're missing where it's like actually there's like a little bit more
Possibly.
depth to it. Maybe the. Oh wait, you know what? It might be. Oh, you know what? One of the reasons it might be this matchup, so you can get access to Prime Catcher. They
I
put it
can
on the
see that.
Genesect. That might be one
Yeah.
of the reasons as well. So you can actually get access to your Prime to chase a two prize knockout.
Now this list doesn't have Genesect. It does have the Regidrago. This one is
Yeah.
Gabe Shumway's, but there was also another Cloth Terapagos just outside the top 8. This one also not
Is this the same
having.
60 as Gabe? Oh no, no,
It's
no.
a little different.
I just saw like there was like a bunch of lists at the bottom there. I wasn't sure. No
Yeah,
Genesect though. It's kind of
Gabe's was
sad.
the only one listed.
Yeah.
But
But
nothing too crazy, it looks like, in either of those builds.
something that was crazy though, that we mentioned briefly, you might want to go to is the Lugia deck.
Yeah, 4 Pokeball, man. How about that?
What is it over? What is like the
So there's only 1 Mesagoza.
okay?
There's also only 14 energy in this list.
I don't know about that.
M
14?
14 energy. Most people play 16.
Dude, that is sketch. Are we actually pulling off attacks with this consistently? I mean, we got the Raikou in there, which is a pretty efficient attacker, but we don't have basic lightning anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you know what, you're gonna discard less energy if you play less energy. So, and
Sound logic.
if we can more efficiently get to our chops, we have to research less. I could see it being correct. I was
So
wondering where the
Pokeball
spaces were coming from though.
Pokeball only makes sense if you're already playing 4 Capturing Aroma. I would have a hard time playing a Pokeball over a second Mesagoza, I think. But,
No
I mean,
redundancy though.
Pokeball, I don't think is, like, a terrible card inherently in this deck, right?
Is it better than Great Ball? I guess is the question, and it could be. The math could work out where Pokeball and one is just better. It's not like really a question of I don't like playing coin flips, and you might, but yeah, one of them is better for sure.
Or is Great Ball better than Dusk Ball? That's the new question.
I had this discussion on my stream once. I'm pretty sure Great Ball is better than Dusk Ball still. There's enough situations where it favors.
But you can have a little bit more control with Dusk Ball because you can Iono something to
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
bottom,
Yeah, no,
right?
I've had yeah, I've gone through it. Like went through all the
You've gone
things, and
through
that's
all the scenarios.
yeah. I'm pretty sure Great Ball comes out ahead just by a little bit. Because yeah, if you research, no, if you Iono, one of the big ones is if you Iono and you see a Dusk Ball, you're gonna potentially only see cards that you've seen before if you can't shuffle your deck. But Great Ball will always be new cards. And if you get Ionoed, it's the same thing. You can always see new cards, and you could always still shuffle your deck and get those cards that were on the bottom back in the mix
Sure.
theoretically.
All right.
Um,
I'm convinced. Easy enough. Great Ball better than Dusk Ball, but I
or
need convincing.
Pokeball.
I need convincing on if Pokeball is better
Is
than the
Ball
Great
Guy in the
Ball.
format? Where's Ball Guy at? We could get 2 Pokeballs and an Ultra Ball, and then get 2 heads, get our chops, and then
Oh, there's
Ultra
no
Ball
Jack
away.
in this list.
Why would you have Pokeball? You don't need Jack if you got Pokeball. Come on
Dude,
now.
you gotta have Jack. Do you know how many unplayable games lead to playable games just because that card is in your deck?
You haven't played with Pokeball yet, though. Maybe
You
all the games are playable once you add Pokeball.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I guess the question from here is, will you ever play with Pokeball?
I think not. We did
Nothing.
see
Oh, go ahead.
the Roaring Moon here. This was Casey who got on stream in day 1.
I think
Maybe
it
it
was
was
day
day
one. Yeah,
2.
pretty sure it was day one.
It was actually a pretty unfortunate. I don't remember who was he playing against. He was playing
Grant Shen. I think it
against
was. Oh, Lucas. No, it was Lucas. Maybe it
Lucas.
was
Yeah,
Lucas.
yeah,
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 yeah.
Lucas. And Lucas's opening Pokemon was Cleffa, and he played his entire turn 1 with a bunch of one prizers in play, like he was playing against Charizard.
But
And then
okay, I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that because that is still a mistake against Charizard to put that many one prizers in play.
sure.
It's actually just a mistake to do that though, because on average you're playing against Drago, not Charizard, or not on average. A higher percentage of the time you're playing against Drago. Basically, a one prizer I feel like should never hit the board in Moon until you know what your opponent's playing. But
But this list was really cool because it plays
yeah,
Scramble Switch and basic water energies. So you can SADA waters to your ancient Pokemon, Scramble Switch over to Radiant Greninja. There's also a couple energy switch in here as well, and pull off a Moonlight Shuriken.
yeah. But it is definitely pretty cool. So it gives you like a way better time against like Charizard and Gardevoir, the big setup decks, even probably like Dragapult matchups as well. You can actually take like multi-prize turns against non 2 prize Pokemon, which is a pretty big deal for the Moon deck. to actually have a chance against those matchups. So it gives you a chance in those matchups. But giving up Prime Catcher, well, we have been seeing people like give up Prime Catcher for like unfair stamp. So if the
Yeah.
unfair stamp is supposed to solve your bad matchups, then maybe Scramble Switch does it better. Possible.
And here is where all the Charizards are.
Yeah, they're
And if
hanging
we
out
scroll
there.
down, we'll see even more of them. But bunch
I
of
mean, it's just
Charizards in the top
something that happened.
32. Jackson Ford losing a win and end to Reggie Drago.
Yeah, with the secret
And
box still.
yep, yep. This Jackson, of course, got top 8 at or top cut. I think it was still top 8, right? At LAIC.
Yeah, yeah.
I got to
And
get
we'll go
more in the habit of saying top cut, not just top 8, top cut.
definitely, definitely. And I think that's how it should be. That's what something I've been trying to do as well. I correct people on that as well when they say it in my chat because I want like I think we should like think about it that way. Like it is the same achieve like it is the next stage in the tournament, right? You make it to day
Yes.
2, you make it to top cut, so on and so
You don't get
forth.
the same prizing as top 8,
Nope. Better win the next one if you want it.
but you are in top cut. You like get to the next stage, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what
But
it's
yeah,
all
those
about.
are kind of the big things. Is there anything else here you want to look at from Toronto?
No, I think that's it. Actually, I'm curious, what is that the highest placing Dragapult Thorns?
Yeah, it was.
Lucky. And I was super hype on that at going to the tournament. I mean, I don't know, it wasn't like super popular, but
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
hoping for a better placement. We did see Tiger. Yeah, yeah, there's Tiger right there. 61st to get a win in day 1,
Yep.
pretty handedly up against
Yeah,
Offense.
Tiger, I didn't talk about this on the stream, but it's actually kind of a cool story. I don't know if you might not even remember this, Azul, but a couple years ago, it was after a Peoria regionals. There was a group, we talked about it on the podcast when it happened. A group of Pokemon players driving home late at night, they got hit head on in a drunk driving car crash by a drunk driver.
Oh, I
And
do
like
remember
we're
this, yeah.
all three all I think it was 3 players in the car were in like real bad shape, sent to the hospital and stuff, and Tiger was one of those players, and so he's still out here competing and stuff. Made like a seemingly full recovery. I guess I don't know the extent, but I see him at tournaments every once in a while, and we always chat for a minute. But yeah, it's always cool to see him doing well after what he's kind of been through.
For sure. It's good to see that he's recovered well. Back at it and bringing one of the coolest decks to the tournament.
That you were a big
Yeah,
fan of. I got to
I'm
give a
a big
shout out to
fan.
Mike Morton here on the Archaladon. Let's get it.
Ooh, it looks like there's the Rigid Bands there. It looks like the Daichi build, pretty similar to what Daichi had brought to the Elite Four tournament with the Star Marines. But the Rigid Bands has some new tech there for sure. The Archaladon's getting a little bit tankier.
Can let you survive a hit against Charizard in the late game,
Yeah.
a one hit KO,
There's like
but
another number for it as well, right? I guess Golden Go needs +1 energy.
mhm,
I mean, you're getting bodied by Golden Go anyways. I don't think that's gonna be
doesn't
enough, but
it doesn't help you against Raging Bolt or anything.
and I still think that Don has got how the meta's just too wide for Archaladon. That's what I've been saying recently. I think Archaladon just needs like a more narrow meta. It's just kind of wait and bide its time. But it has a lot of it just came out, right? It's got a lot of life and it's a very self-sufficient card. It doesn't need a lot to make it work. So
Oh
it doesn't
yeah, there could totally be some other good metal Pokemon that comes out sometime in the future
yeah,
as well that just makes this card. I mean, this ability is insane, right? It's like
yeah.
a very good ability. Like this card probably will be played at some point.
It's got plenty of time. Archaladon is one of those cards where it's like it's not losing anything massive to rotation where it's like, no, it never had its moment. Yeah, it's got plenty of time to get it done.
Um, but yeah, congrats to all the finishers in Toronto. And
Got our
yeah, that
predictions.
we got our prediction. Yeah, I forgot about that. We do have our
Yeah.
predictions. First prediction up was how many Canadians will there be in Top Cut? Azul said 3. I said 5. And
Press
we split the
4.
difference here because there's 4.
I was so close to getting this dub, bro. I just need one more Canadian to lose. But I will still say in the top 16, there is still only 4 Canadians. So let's get it. USA, USA. um,
Another prediction. How many precious trolley would there be in Top Cut? Azul said 3. I said 2. Is the
yeah.
answer 0?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we had done a little bit more math and been like, "Oh yeah, there's gonna be 7 Drago and cut." There's not really room for trolley and cut, but I forgot to factor that in. They were right there. There's 2 trolleys pretty close. Gabe and Elliot. Not
So
quite though.
close. And then
And then
finally, highest placing Golden Go. The hype
this
deck
is the
coming in.
only
Third most
one.
popular deck. Azul gave it to the top
Dude.
32. I gave it the correct placement of top 64 here.
And this all comes back to what I was saying earlier. Like Golden Go with Togekiss, cool new deck, gate kept, every cool new deck is gatekept by Charizard, and Charizard can't even win the tournament because it just has a bad Drago matchup. So it's like you show up with your cool new deck and you lose to this deck that can't even win, and your deck could win if there wasn't this bad deck that everyone kept bringing. I mean, like, dude, it's just so sad. It's tragic, really. All these Charizard players are like, yeah, I'm showing up trying to get, I can't win the tournament. I probably can't go too far because I'm just gonna lose to Drago eventually. But I get to beat on Golden Go. It's like these poor Golden Goes, man. So unlucky. No, I'm just kind of joking. Charizard's obviously very good, but the Drago matchup stuff. I feel for Golden Go.
Dude, imagine what rotation's gonna look like when Drago's not there to check Charizard.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we still have Ogerpon. I'm sure something will come up to beat on Charizard. Actually, Charizard losing Radzard, I think, will be enough to make Charizard a beatable deck. Like one of the biggest
Yeah, maybe
things
you can't even
for
beat Golden Go without Radzard.
yeah, like your prize trade. You still got Briar Dusknoir, so you could probably still squeak it out to be honest. But yeah, Radzard was a big part of Charizard's like unbeatable prize trade. It was always just like, well, I lose to this matchup. No, I don't because I have Radzard. And now we have like Briar and Dusknoir in the mix. So like things might not change that much to be honest. But Radzard was a pretty powerful option to have that is going to lose. So it'll become a more fair deck, I think, for sure.
All right.
Um,
Well, I guess we can move on to guess that flavor text. But before we do, we got to give a moment to thank our fantastic sponsor, Dragon Shield, for supporting us here at the Uncommon Energy Podcast. Of course, Dragon Shield makes the best card gaming and tabletop gaming sleeves and products on the market. We love them for the sleeves. They've also got binders, deck boxes, and so much more, playmats, and all sorts of things. I've been using the Mint Classics. That's my go-to right now. I'm a big believer in the Mint Classics. Everyone go order yourself a pair of classics right now. I'm trying to get Azul on the wave, but he is just too committed to his mats.
no, the mats are the way to go for sure. I'm a huge fan of the mats. I don't know. Yeah, people have their preferences. The mats feel best to me, of course. And I never stick on one color too long, but one of the ones I go back to is always the magenta mats. And if you're interested in picking some up, check them out over at dragonshield.com. Link will be in the description. And our code UEPOD will get you 5% off and support us directly here on the podcast.
Yep.
Be sure to go check it out.
Yep, that's code UEPOD, UEPOD. Get yourself 5% off. And you can also click the link in our description. Big thanks to Dragon Shield, as always, for supporting us here at the Uncommon Energy Podcast.
And yeah, got guess that flavor text up. Guess that flavor text up next. It is next. It is my week to pick a card for Chip to try and guess. If Chip can get it right without using a single lifeline, then he'll get 4 points for each lifeline he uses. What set the card is from, what stage the card is, and read an attack name. He will get 1 less point. And we got some new stats actually
Yeah, shout
over
outs to
on.
Timon Games here. He keeps track of the spreadsheet for us. Keeps track of the leaderboard. You can see I'm currently leading 32 to 29. Look at these stats though. That's pretty cool. Wow,
Yeah,
I've only correctly guessed one
yeah.
more Pokemon than you. What the heck?
That's what I was gonna bring up. I was like, you're only 3 points ahead. You're only one guess ahead as well. Actually, it's pretty close on the correct guesses. You have a couple more 2 pointers than I do.
Dude, is it true that so there's only a correct guess that flavor text on 25% of episodes?
Yeah, I guess so. I never, I
That's
never,
crazy. We're
I never
bad
did
at
the math,
this.
but Tim and Games did the math, and yeah, yeah, it's not looking good for us. At least you agree that it is us, Chip, and not just. And now the proof is there with these extra stats. It's kind of a me and you thing on this one.
But I think it's like one of those matchup things, right? Where it's like you look at the what happened in cut, right? And you say like, "Oh, Raging Bolt lost to Drago." But Raging Bolt's definitely favored into Drago. Like I should definitely be favored here. But on paper it's not panned out that way. I don't know, man. I got to step it up, honestly.
You get tails. You
this is
get
like
tails
a
on all your catchers or
this is
something.
like a wake-up call right now, you know?
Yeah, Chip blaming the tails on the catchers, of course, as always. All
Azul
right,
is truthfully the luckiest Pokemon player of all time. It is so
I
true.
I do have my card picked out. Chip, are you ready?
Yeah, let's get it.
Although it has become capable of living on land, it spends its time in the water, where its prey, fish Pokemon, are plentiful.
Hmm. So land and water, one of my first thoughts was like Wooper and Quagsire, but then the fish Pokemon thing seemed a little bit less believable. Let me hear it again.
Although it has become capable of living on land, it spends its time in water where its prey fish Pokemon are plentiful.
Fish Pokemon. It's prey fish Pokemon. Capable of living on land, but it spends its time in the water. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Wooper Quagsire was just my first thought hearing the first half. Second half, much less certain of thinking of Pokemon that eat fish Pokemon. I mean, like Cramorant eats Arrokuda, right? Like it's in like images and stuff, it always has an Arrokuda or a Pikachu in its mouth. Um yeah, let's get a lifeline in here to help me out a little bit, see if I can narrow something down. It always feels rough to ask for what set the card is from because you pretty much always just pick Scarlet and Violet set.
That's just not true.
One of the newest. Okay, what set is the card from?
Unbroken Bonds.
Okay, Sun and Moon. Okay, we kicked it back a little bit. So that is the Dedenne GX set. That is the Reshiram and Charizard tag team set. What else was in that set?
You think Dedenne eats a lot of fish Pokemon?
Blacephalon, Baby Blounds. I'm just thinking what other cards were out around that time. Let me have you read an attack name.
Bubble.
Could it be like Psyduck or something like that? Or Golduck, maybe? Golduck? What stage is the card? I'm going to go ahead and use all my lifelines.
It is a stage 1.
Is it Golduck? With Bubble. Fish Pokemon. It eats fish Pokemon. Golduck, does Golduck eat fish Pokemon? I mean, I know there's that like iconic fossil Psyduck artwork where there's like a little fish jumping in the background. I cannot picture the Psyduck or Golduck. Wait. I think there is a Psyduck in Unbroken Bonds. I can. Golduck is like the only thing I'm thinking of here. Can live on land, spends its time in water, eats fish Pokemon, has Bubble. I think I'm just gonna go with Golduck here. I'm not super confident in it, but let's lock it in. Golduck.
It is not Golduck.
Dang.
I was unsure of what attack name to give you, so I'm gonna put out the second attack name here to see if this helps you at all. But I feel like this one is pretty. I wouldn't have gotten this, but I feel like this is like an iconic move for this Pokemon. Knuckle
Mm,
Punch.
Knuckle Punch. I don't think that's an iconic move of any Pokemon.
Maybe not iconic, but like I feel like a lot of them have this. But the correct answer is, and I was surprised that this thing eats a lot of fish Pokemon. I don't even know if it has a mouth. Poliwhirl.
Oh. Yeah, I would have never gotten that. I was not even close.
Bottom left there, or around
Yeah.
that. Yeah, there he
Knuckle
is.
Punch.
Maybe eating those
Yeah, I feel like
flesh.
this is one of those. Some of these Gen 1 Pokemon, so many people get them right in the comments right away. If it's like a flavor text that the Pokemon has had for a long time.
Oh, you think
Like,
some of the older Poliwhirls have this one?
yeah.
Has he
But
been eating fish?
doesn't look like it. Yeah, man. These middle, that's an evil pick, to be honest, as well. Poliwhirl.
I
God.
thought if I said Knuckle Punch, you'd maybe get it instantly.
Have any of these
Um,
other cards had Knuckle Punch? That's what I want to know now.
maybe I'm just tripping. Maybe I am tripping on the Knuckle Punching.
I don't know that I've
Oh, they
ever
don't.
heard
Maybe not.
another
Okay,
attack Knuckle Punch. Let's actually see. Can I search card text?
dude. Maybe I'm tripping. I was like this. I was like, I thought this attack was on
What
the.
Pokemon even have this attack? Bro, where are Pukumuku's knuckles?
What do you mean? He's got the hand.
Oh, true. Innards out. Yeah. Yeah. Pops out of his mouth. Okay. Knuckle
Oh, it comes out of
punch.
his.
They stay punching with the knuckles.
Yeah. Or the Poliwrath has Knuckle Punch, I guess. But yeah, maybe I am tripping, dude. I
I
thought.
could have maybe gotten to this one because this Poliwag is in my cube. It's the optimal
Ooh.
Poliwag. But this is
Yeah, if
not
you
the
guys have been
Poliworld that's
running,
in the cube.
y'all been running a different Poliwag in your Polydex, then make sure you go back to this Poliwag specifically. Optimal.
Yes, the Poliwhirl that's in the cube is the finishing blow, 50 plus. If it has any
Ooh.
damage counters on it, 50 more damage.
I actually played the Poliwrath in the most recent time I did your cube. Dude,
It's
I
pretty
got
good.
so unlucky in that one. My deck sucked too. Like my deck was basically a turn 2 Poliwrath deck, and that was basically it. But I like almost made it to the finals of the cube. And
Better
then I
luck
think I
next
would have
time.
beaten I think I would have beaten Liam Halburn because he was playing a control deck, but I didn't have anything to trap in the active because I only had like attackers. There was like
Oh, dude, I remember your deck. You played a bunch of stage ones without the basics.
yeah, because I needed Pokemon for Vespa Queen or something.
Yeah. Your deck was really
I
bad.
but I almost made it all the way. My deck was genius.
Dude, that was a rough cube for me. I lost to Liam Halliburton and his deck. He built a control deck, but control is really hard to build in my deck, in my cube. But the control deck he built, he basically was cycling POW hand extension, which is the same as counter catcher effectively, with Bunnelby turn after turn and just always sticking something active. So if you ever had a deck that it was impossible to do that, you would just win the game.
Yeah,
And
that's my
I had
my deck
Typhlosion
was.
Prime, which always gets an energy back, and I could always retreat the energy off and always put them back onto whatever he's bringing up. But my Typhlosion Prime was my last 2 prize cards. It was in my last 2 prize cards, and so I lost the game.
That's pretty funny. All right. Well, we just had a major tournament. We got another major tournament coming up this weekend. They will not be playing Poliwag, I don't think, but they will be playing the new Budew that has got everyone in a frenzy. Champions League Osaka coming up this weekend. I will be restreaming it for anyone who's curious. Friday, I think the streams usually start up at like 7 or 5 p.m. West Coast time. They might already have the lives scheduled, so I can actually maybe just look it up. They do. Yeah, 4:45 West Coast time is when the live stream
AM,
starts. PM. It's
PM.
interesting. Yeah, they start PM, so it goes into like 2 a.m. usually. And oh, honestly, there are probably gonna be some new cards revealed for
True.
the new set, the trainer battle set, like and Zorak and all that stuff. There's probably gonna be some new cards revealed. I think they sometimes do it day one and day two. I actually just don't remember. But yeah, tune into my stream if you're trying to watch a restream of that or the main stream. I don't even know what the YouTube channel is. Poca CACH. I'm at it right now.
So yeah, let's talk about Budew real quick before we talk much about this tournament because this is the big card that's got everyone all in a frenzy. This terrifying little 30 HP Pokemon. We did talk about this card when it first got revealed, but it's a basic Pokemon, 30 HP, free retreat, weak to fire, yada yada yada, and it has the attack Itchy Pollen for free, 0 energy, 10 damage. During your opponent's next turn, they can't play any item cards from their hand.
Yeah. And this has made its way into I don't know, somebody did the math recently and saying like 50% plus of decks right now because it's a very um low maintenance. Like basically any deck can attack with this turn one going second without kind of impeding their setup at all and completely shutting items out of your opponent's deck. Yeah, this is the graph from Ethan.
Yeah.
49% or 48% of decks are playing Badoo. I think it might be higher now. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, this was 48% of decks that made top 16 at City Leagues on the release weekend of this set, Terrestrial Festival. And yeah, we figured we'd go ahead and just do a segment we haven't brought back in a while, the City League Watch, where we're just going to look at some of these deck lists as we're preparing for the Osaka Champions League this weekend. And there's one other new card that when we look at some of these Lugia lists that have won, you'll probably always see this card pop up. And that is the Regigigas, probably the second best card from the set behind the Budew.
Yeah.
160 HP basic Pokemon, 4 energy for its attack. It deals 100 damage. And then if your opponent's active Pokemon is a Terra Pokemon, it does 230 more damage. That's 330. That KOs every Terra Pokemon in the game except for Tyranitar EX. Every relevant Terra Pokemon it KOs.
Maybe the heroes capes and for people who are probably not fully making the full connection, that KO stuff like Charizard EX, Dragapult EX, Terrapagos, Ogerpon, the big one being Charizard, I think more so than anything. And yeah, I mean they could maybe Heroes Cape is gonna make its way back into Charizard or something but this is actually a pretty big uh addition to Lugia here in its final months as we build up towards rotation. Also, actually we didn't mention this. Rotation's officially announced, right? Um it wasn't announced last week though, right?
Was it officially announced?
I
I
thought
think it was
so.
just announced that I think what was announced was that
UIC.
UIC would take place in the current format of the
Okay, okay, maybe that's what it was.
whatever. Is it F block on?
Oh,
Is that what we're in?
we got that's what it we there was release dates were put out for this new upcoming set. So we have an official release date, I think, now for um the Journey Together, yeah, which is now March 28th. Journey Together. I looked it up on justinbasil.com. It's no longer uh speculation. There's no longer little speculation mark next to it. So yeah, March 28th is like the confirmed release date for the Journey Together set, which will be the End Zorak Clefable, whatever other trainer has the Clefable set.
Lily's Clefable. And it's Lily's
Lily's,
Clefairy.
whatever, yeah, whatever it is. So that will be that's when rotation is going to hit with that set release. So and that's kind of, I mean, I've been saying this for a while. The set's going to come out end of March, beginning of April. Rotation is going to hit end of March, beginning of April. I've been saying this for months now, and end of March, beginning of April. It'd be nice to see it line up more with what Japan is having. Like Japan's rotation is coming up in January, so we're gonna be 2 months removed from them, which is pretty cool, So that's pretty dope. But and they're getting that set in January as well, 2 months before us. They'll be getting the Enzorak set 2 months before us, which is pretty dope. It's pretty cool to see that happen. So I'm excited for next next year's month separation or going into this extended format. But it does seem like Budew doesn't change a whole ton. It's just in every single deck. But it seems like most of the decks are still pretty similar.
Yeah.
I don't know how much weight I put into this like Dragapult Charizard deck, but I guess Gardevoir is maybe a deck that I've seen pop up a little bit more in the city leagues.
Yeah, Gardevoir, Budew, basically any deck that previously like had played Cleffa.
Yeah. Or it's just slower, like some kind of evolution deck.
Yeah, or an evolution deck is like playing the Budew, which is kind of wild.
Yeah. Everyone's got the do.
Even this
Terapagos
cloth
Budew.
Terapagos deck's got the Budew.
Gotta have the Budew.
We
Which is
got
like, wait,
Raging Bolt Budew.
which is kind of weird because like that deck already like does stuff. Oh, but now I guess you can like poison the Charmander and then item lock it, and then it dies to poison coming into your turn with item lock, which is better than Petron KOing it into their turn.
We got
Genius.
Ceruledge Budew.
Gotta have it.
Cloth Terapagos Budew.
Do the Lugias have Budew?
No, the Lugias do not have the Budew. This Lugia
Interesting,
has
because they have,
Drapion V.
well, you need the Drapion V, of course, but that's interesting because they have Jet and Double Turbo to get into a turn one. That one has no Chinchino as well. They're going with the, which is something we might see more from Lugia decks, is they can go to like a, I don't know, a more basics focused build without Chinchino now because the Regigigas one-hit KOs Charizard, and you don't need like a Chinchino to one-hit KO it.
Yeah.
Between Weirdeer and Regigigas, you kind of like can KO everything. Which is
There's a list that didn't play the Budew. Surely, if we click at on enough of these, there's another Lugia list with Drapion V. Why are they playing this?
The Gardevoir deck, because you don't have anything to KO Gardevoir except because
If you if you don't play Chinchino, okay, sure.
yeah,
sure,
because
sure,
you don't
sure.
have the Chinchino.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'm with you.
They're missing their Budew though. They forgot their Budew at home.
I'm a little surprised to see like the turbo decks like the Raging Bolt playing it. It's not in this
Yeah, that
Miraidon
is
deck, which I
weird.
guess makes sense.
It's like what is Raging Bolt building up to? It's like, are they just gonna Budew a Charmander 7 times? Like, what is their plan?
So here's this Regidrago list that plays Budew, and I think so. Regidrago, it's kind of weird. It doesn't win a lot of their tournaments. If you click on them, you'll see them popping up. There's actually none in this tournament, but
Yeah,
it
it
doesn't
is
like
weird.
win very many city leagues. It's kind of wild.
I wonder if part of that maybe is the deck feels worse in best of one, and because they're preparing for their bigger tournaments, like with the idea of playing in best of one at like their Champions League, and only ever playing in best of one. Dude, this list has 2 Kirams. What the heck? With the power, we're just Kiramine because that's why we got the
Yeah.
Power Glass, I assume. What the heck?
Well, the Power Glass is good against Budew.
It's true because you can like get extra energy and play that way. By getting
Yes.
item locked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that is
Power
one
Glass
of the
is kind of
things.
just like a decent card that just hasn't found a good home yet.
It's definitely a very good card. Definitely a good card for sure.
Yeah.
It'll make its way into some
Iron
decent
Thorns
matchups.
Budew, no such luck.
No.
Yo, the Clement's quick wit though.
Well, you gotta have Clements, of course. What do you mean? You gotta have Clements. Let their Budew at home.
Yo, our Chaladon Dunsparce. What is this card? Do you know what this does?
That's Black Belt, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
40 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX.
So this is for anyone who
That's
doesn't
pretty
know.
good.
Yeah, this is a not an effective reprint. Black Belt was a card that we had way back in
Yeah.
2011, but you had
This
to be
is
behind.
Black Belt's training.
Oh, it is named different as well. Yeah, you had to be losing the game, and then your attacks would do 40 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon.
Yep.
This one is just 40 more, but it's only to EX Pokemon. Yeah, there it is.
The Black Belt's training.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Regidrago, yeah, you mentioned that. Like Regidrago just does not pop up as much over in Japan. I don't know why. I don't know why. And it isn't even like this new Budew meta or format. Because that really is the only thing that seems to be being played besides like the black belt that we saw there from the new set. None of the evolution stuff. There's no EV decks at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's to be expected. If you read any of those
What?
cards, you know they're all terrible.
Go to like the first week of this format, see if there was any EV decks. Bro, they play like consistently at City Leagues. There's some pretty terrible decks being played. Where are the EV decks?
True. You are always thinking some terrible card is going to be good, though.
That's not true.
It's so
Sometimes
true.
though.
What? What was the release date?
I don't remember. 2 weeks
Would
ago.
have been Friday the 13th or Friday the 6th? Friday the 6th, probably.
The 6th. Yeah, it was the 6th.
Okay. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, are people even going to have the cards at this time? So yeah, let's scroll through here and see
That's
if
a
we can
good
find
point.
some Evolutions deck. Definitely none that are winning. Let's just
Well,
click on some of these
that's
tournaments.
yeah.
Oh,
No.
Conkeldurr, of course.
Oh, with the Budew.
Yeah, actually, who did I talk
Wait, what
to?
is this? This is just Cloth Conkeldurr. It's not even a Conkeldurr deck. Well, it kind of is, but it's a mix. It's like they cut the Terrapagos and put Conkeldurr in.
With two
But hey,
rotations.
he kind of hits. He kind of smacks.
Who was it I talked to that played against this deck? I think I interviewed someone that played against. Maybe
Oh,
it
it
was Nick
was
Moffat.
no, it was
It was
Tiger.
Tiger. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
sure he was like played against a Conkeldurr, and that was actually he said it was like a lot closer than he thought it was gonna be.
That's crazy. Yo, is this what
Ooh,
Arceus needs? Hold up. Arceus
do
counter gain, double turbo Dusknor. Sign me up.
hold on. That is kind of cooking, and you gotta have Budew.
Gotta have Budew, of course, the Budew. Noivern Melodic, no Budew.
Gastrodon though.
And no evolutions. There was
Yeah.
some other card that came out recently. Oh, it was the Ogre Pond deck, dude. Whenever Twilight Masquerade came out, you were like, "Oh, where's all the Ogre Pond decks?" The like
Oh, I thought there would be something there, like
Ogre's Mask Ogre Pond. It's like, dude, how could you not read these cards and know that this is not going to be good?
bro, I was just hopeful, man. Like, come on. Most of the pawns, besides the fire pawn, had seen play. Like, they all do their own little thing for other decks. Imagine if you put them all together, you just get a deck that wishes it had
Yeah, the
Budew,
problem
bro.
is they all require different energy
Yo,
types.
Budew and the Chi and Pow, that cannot be worth it, bro. That bench space being lost to a Budew sounds
You know what could
terrible.
be worth it in Chiampao though?
Ooh,
The
I don't.
Regigigas.
That's weird though. If they gust around it with a non-Terra at that point, though, you lose a bench space to the Regigigas, which sounds kind of awkward. What? I could see it.
Look at this set. Look at this emblem. Comfey Budew.
How many Budew?
Comfey Budew. There's
Two.
two
It's got
Budew.
two.
The double do. The
And there's
double
definitely some.
do.
There. Do you think
Oh,
they'll?
this with Mirage
Ooh,
Gate's kind of
that's a lot of
broken.
energy. You could just moon them for 3, though. I don't know about that.
I mean, you can like bench attach and then Mirage Gate attach the next
True.
turn, right?
'Cause that's like way lower
It's the same as
priority,
Iron
right?
Hands.
Giving them 1 prize. Well, yeah. The reason they're doing it with Iron Hands is weird because it's worth 2 prize cards. But the Gigas only being worth 1 prize card. Honestly, you might be kind of some facts. I guess
Yeah,
you don't hate it.
could see
You
it.
don't hate that.
Let's see. Is there a Budew? No Budew in the Gouging Fire.
Do you think there will be a good like Budew deck where it's like 4 Budew, you have some other ways to increase your damage with the Budews?
Dude, no, of course not.
Poison, like Radiant Sneasler
No,
plus
no.
oh, 4 Budew
Okay, hold on.
with Radiant
Yo,
Alakazam to move the damage.
the Heavy Lance? Is this Lance's time right at the end of its life?
Is this better than Thorns? Is Budew better than Thorns? Actually, I don't think so. I feel like Thorns is better to open the
Well, there's
Thorns.
no TM evolution, but in theory, you get more turns. Is that what the thought process is here?
No, Budew has 30 HP. I don't know what you're getting more turns against. We haven't seen a lot of honestly. I feel like the first week of the Budew decks, we saw a lot of like Elekid and like other stuff to counter the Budew. When we're going through these decks, we just see more Budew or not Budew, but there's not really like the Elekids and stuff that I feel like I saw.
Yeah, dude. Where are the Cacneas?
Yeah,
We
what
need
the heck?
Cacnea out here.
When it gets hit by an attack, you put 3 damage cards on the attacking Pokemon. You push it up, they can't Budew. Well, they could Budew you, but then you get a prize card.
That's what we should predict here is will a dedicated Budew counter make top cut?
Ooh, okay, that is a good extra prediction because we already had some predictions lined up.
Yeah.
I guess we could get into that next, to be honest.
Yeah, or we can talk more about Budew. Here's kind of my hot take, to be honest. Okay.
Uh,
I think that Budew will be less impactful than what these results have shown.
well, we see that a lot from early City League results as
I
well, like all
do
the
think
time.
Budew is good, but I don't think it's quite going to be this like it will I don't want to say meta warping because it definitely will have a meta impact. But I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be this like doomsday end all type card.
Yeah. I feel like the community in general feels pretty neutral on it. Everyone's just kind of memeing around with the fact that there's so much Badoo. But yeah,
Yeah,
do you remember the first week of Dragapult being released and City League results? It
right.
was literally dominated and the deck sucked. So like City League results always amplify the newest change from any set by like 2x or something. For sure. So yeah, definitely Bucket Assault with whatever
Bucket
happens
of
in
salt,
with whatever happens at City Leagues the first couple weeks
not a grain of salt, a bucket.
before the first Champions League happens or before like the rest of the world gets their hands on the cards. Like yeah, City
Yeah.
League results are to be taken lightly for sure. Not don't fully disregard them, but yeah, don't read into them too much for sure.
Well, I think that helps us get into our very first prediction here is how many Badoo will there be in top 16? And
The
so
big
they
question is
Japan's format for anyone questioning is best of 1, and then they cut to top 16 after 2 days.
yeah, I forget the round counts. It's like 10 and 4.
And then it's like after you lose 3 games, they take you out of the tournament, right?
I think so. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, you have to go like X2 to make top 16.
So how many Badoo do you think there will be?
The biggest question is, do we think there's going to be the biggest question to ask with this prediction is, will there be a deck in Top Cut that is good that plays like 3 or 4 Budew? Probably not.
No.
So with that in mind, I'm going to go with 11 Budew. It's still so high though. I'm going to go with 11 Budew.
11 Badoo in top
11
16.
Budew. Yeah.
I'm going with 5.
What? Bro, no faith in the do?
I think it's going to be way less impactful than people think it's going to be.
All right, we'll see.
I'm going with 5, and I feel pretty good about that.
I was going to roll up with a quad Budew, a broken quad Budew deck.
Oh, it is how many unique Badoo, not just like Badoo decks that have
Oh, yeah,
Badoo.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. I'll still go
So,
with 5. That's fine.
okay.
All right,
I'm predicting 11 decks with 1 Budew each, but
sure. All right, Azul, pick a deck to win the tournaments.
I'm gonna go with honestly, I don't even know. I have like no I mean, I feel like one of the big things to usually look at in these new metas, new formats, even though not that much has changed, is just fast, aggressive. But I feel like that applies so much less when there's so much. I'm gonna go with Gardevoir. With so much like less to Gardevoir's Gardevoir feels so much worse than no, let's go with Gardevoir. Let's go with Gardevoir. Fucking Gardevoir.
Ooh, the Gardevoir is an interesting choice. I could definitely see it. When you talk about fast aggressive decks, this is an easy choice for me. I feel pretty confident in this. I'm locking in Raging Bolts.
Will there be a Budew in the Raging Bolt?
No.
Interesting.
Most played ace spec in top 16.
It's always tough to go against Prime Catcher, but the fact that Reggie Drago is just so underplayed over in Japan for some reason.
There's so many secret box decks right now.
Man, this is tough. Like you look at the results from the Champions League, and so many of these decks just don't have Prime Catcher. Um, I'm gonna go with. Dude, I don't even. What are the Charizard decks playing over there? Is it Unfair Stamp, Grand Tree? That can't be the constant.
I bet whatever the most played deck there will be like 4 or 5 of this ace spec in cut.
Oh, I guess Grand Tree makes sense to compete against Budew. It's got to be in there because of Budew.
That's actually
Um,
funny.
Guardy is kind of killing. I'm just gonna go with Unfair Stamp. I'm with Unfair Stamp. Guardy's gonna have
Unfair.
an insane tournament this Champions League. Badew's everywhere. Unfair Stamps everywhere.
I'm gonna go with the secret box. All the turbo decks. Honestly, could go with like the legacy energy because you can play it even if you get Badooed.
True.
But I'm not. I'm going with the secret box.
And then final prediction that we just added: will a dedicated Budew counter make cut? Something like a Cacnea or an Elekid would be what we're looking at here.
Acmea Elekid. There's also the Hitmonchan. There's a lot of stuff, and and we're talking about something that is literally the only reason it is in their deck is to counter Badoo.
Yeah, or we can basically look at that and be like, that's probably why they played it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm gonna say yes, just because that's the cooler. It'd be cool to see something like that prevail going into a top cut.
I also think the answer is yes, even though I don't think Badoo will actually have as big an impact. Oh wait, they get to change their decks between day 1 and day 2, right?
I believe they do. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Ooh, I
No,
wonder.
almost no one does though.
There's no way we can track this, but I bet what'll happen is that someone will make it to day 2 with a Badoo counter in their deck, and they're gonna get through day 1 and be like, "This card was useless. I'm taking it out of my deck for day 2." And then they'll make
Dude,
top
you
cut. But
hate.
we have no way to know the
Dude,
truth.
you're just like preying on Badoo's downfall, bro. Like you just like don't want him to succeed. You don't want him to thrive
I
and be
have a
the
pretty
meta
good feeling
worthy
I'm gonna be
card.
right about this, but I'm down to be wrong. I've been wrong before. I think I'm pretty good at these predictions.
Did you sell all of your Badoo stock before Champions League this weekend? Show us the receipts, Chip. I want to see it. I want to see it.
I'll never tell. All right, Azul. Well, I think that's it for our episode this week. You got anything else you want to say to the people before we get into our bonus episode?
No, send us out.
Appreciate everyone listening as always. Thank you so much for all the support. And if you do enjoy the podcast, be sure to leave us a like, a review, a rating, comment, subscribe. All those things help us out a bunch wherever you are watching, be it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else. And if you want to stay up to date with myself and Azul, the best place to do it is over on X. You can follow myself at Chip Ritchie, at Azul_GG. And you can follow the podcast at uncommon_energy. Be sure to check out the highlights channel. Be sure to check out the content channel. We got a new video coming out this weekend. Azul send us to the bonus episode.
Yeah, appreciate the support as always. Good luck to anyone playing in the Champions League if you're listening. I guess one exciting thing that we didn't mention that we'll mention at the end here. I believe Fabian is playing in the Champions League this weekend. I believe so, which is very interesting to see.
Player
Wish him
from
the
our
best.
circuit competing over there.
Yeah, hopefully he at least makes it on stream. If not make top cut, so that'd be pretty dope. Then we'll catch y'all next Wednesday, 7 a.m. Eastern.